Greetings and citations, guys. Welcome to the Aleuminati. Two Yorkshiremen getting pissed, discussing conspiracy theories. Now, this is our first episode on our brand new channel, so we're starting something a little fun. So let's just go through what we are. First up, I'm Badger. This is my good friend Craig.
Hello.
And each week we're going to sit down with a different conspiracy theory, discuss it, debate it, sometimes extremely heatedly. There's going to be foul language, going to be swearing, lots of booze, lots of cigarettes.
Not for me, I'm very polite. Yeah.
But we're going to sit here and just discuss, argue, debate a conspiracy theory of the week, and then at the end of it we'll have a little closing statement each and say answer the question of does I believe.
Yeah. I think it's important to note that every single week when we do choose a topic and we go away and we research individually, we do not know what each other are thinking about or talking about. We've got absolutely no idea what line of research each of us have gone down. But we will bring it to the table and talk about it for the first time. So what you'll be seeing today is me and Badger talking about this for the first time, trying to get to the bottom of where we've got.
All our videos are going to be completely unscripted, and they have to be because I've got a set in my head how I want this to play, and I'm going to play a serial. But then you've got your research as well there, and all we do is basically we pick the topic. It's generally just a 3-word question. Something like, does Bigfoot exist? Did Roswell happen? And that's what we go away when we don't speak about it at all. And so I have no idea what line of research you've gone down, you don't know mine. And then we sit and have a nice challenging debate.
Yeah, and we just need to make people aware as well. Is we've gone to find our own information, or we've gone down whatever route we've taken. But this is just an opinion piece between ourselves. We're not bringing up any brand new. We're not finding new data or new information.
Everything we bring up is something we've found online.
Absolutely.
We film this episode. After this episode, one of us will decide next week's topic. We'll go away. We'll spend a week searching and researching online. So everything we discuss is easily found online. We do, however, love to hear more information. The opinions we have and the opinions we hold in our videos are purely based on the knowledge we have at hand. Give me new knowledge. Give me something I didn't know that changed my. I will change my mind like that if you can prove with evidence that I was wrong. So please feel free to start. If we miss anything out on a conspiracy, whack it in the comments below. Whack it because we're going to read all of them, and hopefully we'll get enough of them. We'll start doing a comments response video, or maybe we'll come back and revisit a conspiracy theory thanks to feedback and stuff. But yeah. Should we start with tonight's? Because when I gave you this conspiracy theory, your face dropped.
My immediate response was, what the fuck? What? What are you on about, Badger?
So, again, simple 3-word question mark kind of thing is, this week, is Paul McCartney dead? That's all I have to say to get that reaction from you.
We could make this video 15 seconds long with me just giving a single word response.
No.
But you don't know that's my response.
I'm pretty sure from your reaction when I gave you this topic last week is your response. Or has your research changed?
That was my response last week.
Yeah.
Is my response this week anything other than no? Or have I got splinters up my arse and very much offence?
So, we'll start. So anyone that doesn't know is not watching. Paul McCartney is a bass player from the Beatles and a global superstar, an artist extraordinaire. I think.
He could play any instrument. He's just unbelievable. He's just.
I don't know if he's a savant, but I don't know if he can pick up an instrument and just play it naturally, or it just kind of goes, I don't know how to play that, and in like 3 weeks he knows how to play it.
I mean, Dave Grohl said, he brought him on for a single just to play the drums, and Dave Grohl came in and just said he was unbelievable. It's like, what's going on? And he plays lead, he plays piano, he could basically play anything.
He's a master of his craft, isn't he? Singer, songwriter, play any instrument going.
The only instrument I could play better than him is probably the triangle, I'd say.
But I don't know, probably the triangle is some new way, because some of his stuff as well, especially the later Beatles stuff, was quite experimental.
That wasn't a collective though. But
yeah, he's got that driving force behind it. But let's get to the crux of the theory, right? So, Paul is dead is an urban legend that conspiracy theory alleging that English musician Paul McCartney of the Beatles died on 9th November 1966.
Yes.
And was secretly replaced by a lookalike. The rumour began circulating in 1967, but grew in popularity after being reported on American college campuses in the late 1969. Proponents based the theory on perceived clues found in Beatles songs and album covers. Clue hunting proved infectious and within a few weeks becoming a national phenomenon. According to the theory, McCartney died in a car crash, and to spare the public from grief, the surviving Beatles replaced him with a winner of a McCartney lookalike contest, sometimes identified as William Campbell or Billy Shears. He has two different names because it was William Campbell at first, then it was William Shears Campbell, which was later put to Billy Shears. So it's not two people, it's one person is this theory. Afterwards, the band left messages in their music and album artwork to communicate the truth to their fans. Proponents of the theory maintained that on 9th November 1966, McCartney had an argument with his bandmates during a Beatles recording session and drove angrily in his car, crashed and was decapitated. To spare the public from grief, or simply as a joke, the surviving Beatles replaced him with a winner of a McCartney lookalike contest. This scenario was facilitated by the Beatles' recent retirement from live performance by their choosing to present themselves with a new image for their next album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Can we stop there?
Yeah, go on. Whew. There's a lot there, isn't there?
There's a lot in that statement. So, I don't even know where to start. So, okay. Let's go down to some general shit, right? So
let's take it right down to the basics.
Okay. So, reportedly, he left at 5 a.m. in the morning after having a fight.
Yeah, he had a fight. I think was it the Abbey Road Studios or Ealing Studios? I think it was.
He took his car. He crashed. He was decapitated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it was icy conditions on the road that night as well. Because it was on the M1 coming out of London. I think it was. It was like ice conditions on the road. Not stormy as such, but just if he's driving angry and not paying attention to the road, then it's quite icy. He could careen off.
Before we even get into any of the conspiracy stuff, I just want to talk some general logic, if we possibly can. You know how I like to start with logic?
Yeah.
So, if Paul McCartney's been decapitated in a car, firstly, there'd need to be a body. Now, where's that body? Secondly, there'd have to be a proper report, an ambulance, a police report, there'd be witness reports, there'd be a wreckage, there'd be all sorts of certificates, death certificates and stuff that are around there. That's just from the first report.
I can answer all that.
Okay, MI5 covered it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought
I've got it here. The replacement was instigated by Britain's MI5 out of concern for the severe distress McCartney's death would cause the Beatles' audience. In this latter time, the survivor Beatles were said to be wrecked by guilt at their duplicity and therefore left messages in their music and album artwork to communicate the truth to their fans. So this was, there's no body, there's no death certificate, there's no burial, because the MI5 went, you know what, this is going to cause mayhem. We'll cover it up. We've got the tools and resources to cover this up. You just have to go along with it. And the Beatles went along with it, but kind of felt guilty, so put messages and clues in their artwork and the music.
How very convenient.
It's there's a nice little bow on top of that, isn't there? Like, you can't explain this, where the body is, or where the death certificate, or what the autopsy, who found the body, why has no one come forward as, like, at least back then as well. You found Paul McCartney's body side of the road, you go speak to Sun or News at World, you get paid thousands.
I mean, I don't know whether the rag that is the Sun was around back then, but some red top.
Yeah, some red top put in it. But MI5 did it. Just kind of ties any complaint or any argument of logic you've got in a nice little box with a bow on top. MI5 did it.
Well, yeah, that's a wonderful thing to finish. The other thing though is, okay, let's just say I buy it. Let's just say for 1 second I can buy Paul McCartney has been taken away by the MI5, disposed of in some
British establishment cover up. Yeah.
This orphan William Sheed Campbell. This lookalike is now going to be picked as the new people. So, the other thing that would happen is, if my brother was Paul McCartney and he just suddenly vanished and then a lookalike turned up, I understand my brother's mannerisms, the way he talks, the way he walks, the way he acts, the way we communicate. There's no way I could be hidden. There's no way that somebody could go, here's someone who looks very, very like your brother. Because my brother's got a specific tone of how he speaks, a very different way of working. So what we're saying is, it's not just a case of let's hide this from the public. We'd have to hide it from his family unless they're complicit, which I've never seen any evidence of.
It's like when I get passionate and talk about things, I sometimes So the thing, it annoys me. No one's ever mentioned this to me. So it's the first time I've actually mentioned it, but it annoys me. Is that I know when I'm talking about things passionately, I can sometimes pronounce words that begin with O as if they begin with an H.
Okay.
So instead of saying out, I'll say how. And I don't know why I do that. I've no idea why. But that's a mannerism that only people close to me would really know about.
Agreed.
So you've probably noticed it without even noticing it. It's not every O word. It's occasionally peppered. I don't know why it happens. But if I suddenly, if you were aware of that, and then I suddenly, even as a friend, turned up and that just stopped, and had no explanation for it or reason for it, fuck, what?
So, yeah, I mean, and the issue is as well is, you can, well probably, you'll have brought up you will talk about the whole idea of how his face was transformed, this, that and the other. It's not just that, it's there's things that you can't teach, like, I'm quite tactile, and I'm gesticulate constantly. I throw my hands around all the time, and I can't help the facial expressions of it. When you were bringing this, people probably see it when you see it back, you were talking, I was like going, I don't.
Yeah, just
head in my hands.
We're both quite expressive in how we talk.
So, you know, and it's okay, because we're going to get to the point of where we're saying, you know, how he pulled it off was, like you said there, the Beatles taught him how to play. They taught him how to be Paul McCartney, effectively.
Yeah, but doesn't this also just kind of say...
That's just...
It doesn't matter about Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney wasn't that talented, because we can just teach anyone to do it.
Right, all I know for a fact is, if the Beatles had their hands on me for 10 years, I would be a quarter of as talented as Paul McCartney. So I guess we'll get down to those points. I just want to immediately say, before we even start looking at all these supposed conspiracies and evidences,
The
that we're
death
putting
clues, as they're called. Yeah.
the fact of the matter is, okay, even if a guy, the MI5, has taken his body and stashed it and covered everything up, and we brought this orphan,
An
orphan as well, that's got no history, who's been brought forward to replace him and become this multi-talented person. You can't hide it from the people closest to him, the family. The band may be able to have said, well, it's making us millions, let's put up with it.
Carry on, yeah.
But you can't hide it from his family. So you'd have to say his entire family, his entire social unit have to be absolutely complicit as well. And I have not heard of one single person, not one person come forward out of all of them who could have made absolutely millions.
MI5 money. Or MI5 threats. You come forward, we're going to kill your kids. Or here's £1 million, shut the fuck up.
Right, just think about what you're saying.
I know. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
You're a logical man, like normally.
No, I know, it's true, I don't believe that. You see, I'm trying to anticipate what viewers would be saying.
Right,
if MI5 covered it up, then they could...
If you think they've done that anyway, then you're an idiot too, right? So...
Welcome to the Aleuminati! We despise the people that watch us.
I'm sorry. But if you think for 1 second that the MI5 will come over, just hidden a body, threatened their entire social group for 50 years, paid them all off for 50 years, and not one person yet has come forward from all of that and gone, do you know that thing about Paul? Well, yeah, it's true. And if they have, please put me in the comments, because I'd love to.
Yeah, I'd love to. But even if you were paid off, say I were paid off and spent my entire life keeping that secret, you better fucking believe I'm getting a lawyer and a notariser around and putting that out on my deathbed.
You would deathbed confession.
Yeah, you know, I'm down in hospital, I'm fucking stage 3 lung cancer or something, and just go, I want a lawyer here, and I want a cameraman, and I want 3 reporters. This is me, this is what I did, there's evidence of who I am. I'm Paul McCartney's brother, I'm about to die, by the way, died in 1966, and I've been paid by MI5 to cover it up for the last 50 years. See, you know, off a pop. MI5 come round and go, right, we're going to kill you now. Do it! I've got 3 weeks to live, I don't give a fuck.
Well, and we also need to take, when you go into the future, remember the Beatles split up, and Apple dissolved. So, at that point, Paul McCartney sued the rest of the Beatles.
Did he?
He did. Regarding catalogue rights and naming rights and all this sort of thing. So he sued the rest of the Beatles.
Exactly, because he needed them transferring from Paul McCartney to William Campbell.
Yeah, that's what it was, yeah.
In order to gain his money or whatever. Under William Campbell, he was like, no, that's my dead name. That's a hate crime. You need to call me Paul McCartney from now on.
No, because basically when Apple dissolved, they basically just like wrangling over, right, okay, they're dissolving, so who gets what money and what rights and all that sort of scenario. And
yeah, that's why like a lot of the songs are put as Lennon McCartney. In the
well,
credits.
Yoko Ono has fought for, is it Yoko or someone else? So because it was Lennon McCartney for a long time, but it was meant to be McCartney Lennon trying to switch it around. So that fight's been going on with the Lennon estate for decades.
Didn't that just get settled by it's alphabetical? Because it was like Lennon McCartney. It's like, well, I actually wrote more of that than he did, so it should be McCartney Lennon. And they'd like to know which going to do it alphabetically, and you get the same share.
Well, I can't remember which way around it was, but all I know for a fact is if I'd have been complicit in hiding this going on for a while, and then I've trained this young guy. We've trained for a long time. We've taught him everything that he knows. We've created this wonderful musician, brought him into one of the most successful band in the world, and then at the end of it, he goes, "I'm going to fucking sue you all for back catalogue," when he had nothing to do with the first 3 albums. At that point, I'm sure someone they didn't say anything. So Lennon didn't go, "Actually,
you're not even Paul.
you didn't do anything with the first 3 albums. You don't get a penny." That didn't happen either.
I think this.
And it got really nasty.
I think this theory starts grabbing weight though because of the timing of it. So the Beatles had retired by choice from live performances, and were reimagining themselves in a different way with the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club. Yep. So this was like a different band, a different art expression, So you could argue that you could put someone in there who wasn't Paul. And just go, it doesn't sound like Paul. Well, no, we're trying out this new stuff, we're trying out this new experimental music, and we're going down a different route. And he can't play live, because you can't teach him to sing like Paul, because he can't be as good as it. So we stopped doing live. It just seems, it's convenient for the theory to work. That you've got these first 3 albums, and suddenly this 4th album takes a right turn artistically, and they stop doing live performances. Well, why is that? Is that because they've grown as a band and they've got bored of what they're pumping out and want to go down that route? Or is it because they've got this imposter in to replace Paul and he can't sing live, so they retire from live performances, and he can't play as good as him, so we can do this? John Lennon started experimenting with tape loops, and I think Revolution Number 9 has 10 different tape loops going on. Is that just to mask how crap Paul is? You have a cacophony of noise, so you can't pick out how bad it is or how different it sounds from what you're used to.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is, though,
it's convenient to the theory, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but McCartney's also done some stunning work in the Beatles since that point, where his voice sounds amazing. He's.
Oh no, I'm not talking about after the Beatles. What I'm saying is.
No, in the Beatles.
No, what I'm saying, this theory takes weight because they stopped performing live. And they had a completely artistic left turn. So it kind of, this is where I think this is where it goes. If the kind of the 4th album had been the same as the 3 before it, I don't think this had garnered any weight. I think it's because the Beatles were so different on the 4th album that you go, well, they could have put someone in.
Well, you could put a pin in it and say, this is a really good place to start. And that's where the ironically, go back to where it's actually started from. The rumour actually started from, no one even heard the rumour before until the Beatles put out in the Beatles monthly book, we want to quell the rumour that Paul McCartney's dead. It's like, I didn't even know there was a rumour.
No, well, I've got that here, right?
Wait, that sounds like a plant to me.
I've marked this bit of my notes as the cultural phenomenon.
Right, okay. Please go ahead.
Right. And this is the bit I love about this conspiracy theory. One of the reasons I chose it is because all the conspiracy theories we're going to cover in time are all sort of like, you pick bits from here and there and information you garner and so on. This has an actual timeline. This has an evidence timeline to how...
Whoa, don't say evidence.
No, I've got here in front of me a chronological timeline of how this went from being a rumour to an international thing.
But that's not evidence.
Right? I can evidence all the way along it.
No, you can tell me the timeline of when things happen, but it doesn't mean there's evidence that sits in between it.
This is an evidence. Okay. Every bit I've got is this factually happened. Factually happened.
I want my mind to be blown. Right. Please go.
It's quite long, so bear with me and feel free to jump in at any point.
Oh, I will.
Right? So, the earliest printed record of Paul is Dead story appears in the February 1967 issue of Beatles Book Monthly.
Number 43.
Right?
Yes.
The magazine of the official Beatles fan club, which is what you said, right? Speculation that Paul had been killed circulated around London during much of 1967, so it was a very London-based thing. Like, if you were in that circle, the rumours were circulating gossip.
Only because of this magazine?
Right? No, before the magazine. So,
right, okay.
so the magazine, that's why the magazine addressed it, and everyone else around the world went, what? Right?
Okay.
A subsequent article in the New York Times recounts an incident at a London party in autumn of 1967 at which the Paul is Dead rumour was joked about in the presence of a reporter.
Okay.
This is believed to be the first time it went out, and that's why the fanzine had to counter it.
Okay.
So it was like basically a fucking party somewhere, and someone, oh yeah, have you heard the fucking rumour that Paul's dead? Oh, he's buzzing like, well, oh yeah, apparently died in a car crash, and then some reporter just stood with his back to them and went like, well, that's my next fucking story. I'm going to get fired next week. I've got a big scoop. Here we go.
It could have been the Sun newspaper. They're really good at making it bullshit.
Yeah.
It could have been the
It's going to be some red top or something, right?
Yeah.
But it's the New
I believe
York.
that then.
The New York Times recounts this incident at a party.
Okay.
Right? At this point, the trail of documentation goes completely cold. Right.
Yes. Until 1969, I would imagine.
1969. 2 years later, rumour surfaced again, but this time in Des Moines, Iowa. So that's a big jump from London and Iowa. Sorry to anyone from Iowa watching, but I've never heard Iowa classed as the cultural heartbeat of America, or you know, I mean, it's not like London, New York, Milan, Paris.
I don't know. We you know,
I think of Iowa as cornfields and ethanol and you know, rural belt kind of. I don't think of it as cultural centre, but
I don't know what culture you've got, so I
I don't. I'm only going from what we see in the UK, but so apologies for any offence calls, but that's like no phone call. Right. So on Wednesday, September 17th, 1969, the student newspaper at Drake University published an article by sophomore Tim Harper entitled "Is Beatle Paul McCartney Dead?" Less than a week later, on the 23rd, the student paper at the Northern Illinois University plagiarised Harper's article.
Yes.
Then the rumour spread to Ohio Wesleyan University, where it came to the attention of an art student named John Summer. John became so intrigued that he compiled a dossier of evidence substantiating Paul's death and offered it to United Press International. Right, so you see what I'm saying? Like, we've got an evidence timeline here, right?
Yes.
They agreed to carry the story, but no one paid any attention. So this John Summers gone, this sounds quite interesting, and picked everything you can together about it, give it to United Press, and they've gone, yeah, we'll carry it, but no one's really listened to it. 2 more weeks, the rumour gained momentum on the college campuses of Middle America. Then on the afternoon of October the 12th, 1969, the theory attained critical mass.
That's with Russ Gibb.
Yes. So, during the climax of the Paul is Dead media frenzy, RKO produced a 1-hour television special called Paul McCartney, the complete story told for the first and last time.
Well, just before that though, remember, the phone call came into Detroit Radio, WKNR FM, disc jockey Russ Gibb. That was on the 12th of October.
So 12th of October that happened, but then I've skipped that bit because
we're going to talk about that.
The RKO show, the special, 1-hour special called Paul McCartney, the complete story told for the first and last time, covers all that in it. So that's why I skipped that out, because it covers it in. So,
but that is a critical about the
he was the first radio DJ. He was the first person to put the theory on air.
Well, no, he was told to play. Was it Revolution 9 backwards?
Well, this is why I've gone on to.
Okay.
So I'm going with this timeline.
I want to interrupt. I'm sorry.
So the programme was videotaped on a set resembling a courtroom in which various witnesses involved with the rumour were formally questioned by an attorney. To give it a little bit of weight and brevity, the attorney was the celebrity lawyer F. Lee Bailey.
Okay, I don't know who that is.
His most famous client was the Boston Strangler.
Nice.
Right, and it later gained more notoriety further down the line when he became O.J. Simpson's dream team.
OJ. Oh, I remember his name now. He's got nice clientele. He's got nice friends.
He moves in weird social circles, shall we say, or professional circles, I assume. But yeah, So at the time when this show was made, he was like the... So they made this 1 hour special. It was like a courtroom and they brought witnesses in and he questioned them as if he was in a court of law. At the time he was famous for representing the Boston Strangler. A lot, decades later become famous for being part of O.J. Simpson's team.
What a nice man.
It was, the TV special was syndicated, which if my knowledge of American TV is right, that means it just went out across the whole of America as syndicated.
Surely that can't have gone out across the whole of America. Surely not.
Arceo's Paul is Dead TV special was syndicated on Thanksgiving weekend of 1969. So syndicated in America means it goes across all networks.
Sorry, this is rude. I'm gonna have to.
Because don't you have like
Google.
Don't you have the Fox syndicated means you're on all the different channels. That's where you make residuals. If your show becomes syndicated, you're on like loads of different networks in different states and stuff.
I honestly don't know. So I'm gonna.
It's like the Fox syndicate of channels kind of thing, where they'll have channels in like local TV in California and Vegas and shit.
You see, yeah, a syndicated show is programming produced and licensed for use by many radio and television stations throughout the US. Syndicated shows allow stations the opportunity to provide listeners shows that they could not create themselves or access to nationally recognised personalities. So yes.
So it's like...
I can't believe this got syndicated.
It's like the BBC making Doctor Who.
Right.
And then Doctor Who being shown in America.
Or giving people the option, saying you can buy the option.
We show it in America and Azerbaijan and that's kind of syndicated. So this was syndicated on Thanksgiving weekend.
Busy, yeah.
When everyone's at home and all the families sitting around the TV, I'm assuming.
Listening to Revolution 9 backwards.
Yeah.
Course, yeah.
After the broadcast, all videotapes of the programme appeared to vanish without a trace. Fortunately, the soundtrack was preserved for posterity by an anonymous Beatles fan who taped it off his television set. So this is the only recording we have of it. It's someone just with a 1969 tape recorder next to his TV set recording the audio.
Can you listen to it? Is it?
Well, I can put links in afterwards.
I don't even know about this.
I've not got the links with me, but I can put the links in afterwards. That's no problem. I'll put them in. This website I got off has got links all throughout.
Excellent.
The MP3s and stuff like that all throughout. So you can go download and listen to them. So it's where we get back on track with you now. Disc jockey Russ Gibb of WKN-RFM was the first man to bring the conspiracy to the airwaves. This rumour, let's just bring it back a bit into the timeline.
Yeah.
This rumour had been circulating around London parties and stuff, and as a jokey bit of gossip, some ragtoppers, journalists has overheard it and not reported it, but it's the New York Times has reported that a journalist heard it.
You remember something sensational.
Right. So I'm wondering, maybe not even a ragtop, but maybe because a ragtop would like the shit rag that is the Sun had probably published it. But I'm wondering if it's like a New York Times journalist at a party in London heard it, gone back to New York and gone, yes, it's in London, and they wrote that as a laugh.
Look at this strange rumour.
Yeah. So then it went dead. Then 2 years later it springs up in Iowa, someone writes about the student paper, another university student plagiarises the article for it, and it just starts spreading across America. So it's just gossip and spreading by word of mouth kind of thing. Russ Gibb at WKN-RFM is the first person to publish it, if you like.
Well, he got an anonymous call saying, play Revolution 9 backwards and listen to the message that you can hear.
Yeah.
Which was?
Turn Me On Dead Man.
Turn Me On Dead Man. And then I think they had like a 1 hour conversation after that about, whoa, what?
What? Yeah.
What?
So
Yeah,
he's discussing this with this anonymous caller. And this anonymous caller was just a student who'd heard it on campus and decided to ring into his local radio.
I found it, just to put a pin in it right here, this for me is the conspiracy.
Right.
Because just a random call to a small local random station from a person who won't give the name, you don't know who they are, who goes, listen to this record backwards, and hangs up scenario. It sounds very secretive, it sounds, a bit peculiar, and then it all kicks off. I think that
it sounds planned.
Yes, and that's out of all of this, out of everything we've read so far, this is the only thing that went, I wasn't there, I wasn't part of the furore, I don't really know the real context about what the call looked like, or how they screen them, or how they take details, but that just like this, just have a listen to this live on radio. Because you're not going to be able to go to, in the UK right now, you can go to Radio 1 and go, just ring up and go, we just listen to this record backwards. They go, who the fuck?
We just happen to have it here.
yeah. So if they've gone to somewhere, they'll go, okay, let's get this.
It does. I mean, we're Yorkshiremen, we're cynical and cynicists.
Well, it is 2020, and we are in the middle of
it does have that feel of this has gone viral before viral media were a thing.
It wouldn't have been able to go viral had we had the world we had today, I don't think. I don't think this is even got off the law.
No, but what I'm saying is it's gone viral around American university campuses before viral media or viral posts were even not even a thing, but weren't even considered as a form of marketing.
Yeah.
I think some executive at Capital Records, I think it was.
Yeah.
Their sons at union has heard this and gone and told the dad, and they're like a marketing executive. You know what? We could plug the fucking back catalogue here. But New York Times aren't going to take it. Washington Post aren't going to do it. But this little community radio station, that guy will take a stab at it to be famous. We'll plant it there and then watch it and we'll spread it. So I think this was like viral marketing before we had a term for viral marketing.
Yeah, so
it does smell like that, but that's only because of viral marketing we have today. I can see that through that lens today.
I mean, clearly this was 50 years ago, and I don't know what the world looked like 50 years ago. So, and I obviously, but I do know that radio stations, even local radio stations, you didn't really have access to lots of television and so on. It was still, as a medium, it was still very much loved and going to lots and lots of places. And if you can get anything that's to do with the Beatles to start with, and anything that can be a little bit naughty that can get people contentious and talking, people can start listening to you.
And then you can spread that show through syndication and make the station a lot of money.
Because if you imagine you being the disc jockey, breaking that story, you know for a fact that you are it for a while now.
Would you remembered forever? We're 50 years later, we're talking about Russ Gibb. But also, how much money did he make for his bosses when they sold that programme to other local stations to replay and breaking you and you heard this here's the scoop, and they can sell that show and then again, when it goes critical mass and it goes international, all these big companies, like say New York Times, are buying a copy of the show off the station to be able to write an article and shit. So
now, I don't know if this was just chance.
Like most things, follow the money.
Yeah, I don't know if this was just chance, but the only thing that really pricked regarding any type of conspiracy was, we're going to make a lot of money doing this. And that was my first thing of, okay. But we'll get on to potentially more.
So, while this 1 hour conversation is going on, 20 miles away, a sophomore at the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor happened to be listening to Russ Gibb's talk show that afternoon. Fred LeBour, who's become synonymous now, he now becomes the main guy of this theory.
Yeah.
Was scheduled to write a review of the Abbey Road album for the next issue of the University Student newspaper. Instead, this is a great quote I've got here, I love this, I copied and pasted this quote just because I loved it. Instead, inspired by what he just heard on the radio, he sat down at his typewriter and spent 90 minutes composing a masterpiece of engineered mythology.
Basically, I wrote a lot of bullshit. He could have written some different terms. He could have been writing for the Daily Sport. If he'd have been
I just love how the guy writing this described it as he spent 90 minutes composing a masterpiece of engineered mythology. That's a very polite way of saying he wrote a lot of wank.
Absolutely.
Right. So, jumping back to the television special.
I thought you said this was a timeline.
It is.
Okay. It's like Back to the Future.
Jumping back to the television special, so where that lawyer that keeps amazing clients was questioning people. He asks, are you the same Fred LeBour who published on October 1959? Are you the same Fred LeBour who published on October 14, 1969 an article in the Michigan Daily, a newspaper by university, which begins as follows: Paul McCartney was killed in an automobile accident in November 1966 after leaving EMI recording studios tired, sad and dejected. Right, I wrote that story. Do you know for a fact that's true? No, I don't. Then why did you publish it? Well, I was supposed to. They asked me to review Abbey Road, which was the current Beatles album. So I decided I didn't want to just write a review about, this is Paul does this song and George does this song, etc., etc., like all review go. So I decided to make it work symbolically on a religious level. That's the audio taken straight from the TV special. That's it just gone, I don't know, it's true.
That's what it's sauce papers. I don't know. Honestly, that guy would make a fucking packet in today's day and age. Working on social media, wouldn't he?
I had to review Abbey Road album and I'm just doing a right review like everybody else we're going to do, and I got this on radio and just went, make a good article.
Paul's dead.
I just put that bit like, it's like this is like, say, I jump back to TV special, like, that question, do you know for a fact that that's true? No, I don't.
I have no idea.
I was supposed to do this review and I couldn't be asked. So Fred's article presented for the first time was what to become the definitive legend of Paul McCartney's death. This is where, that article where he just went, I don't know if it was true or not, I was supposed to write this review and I did this instead. This has become the cornerstone, the centrepiece of the conspiracy theory.
Had the Turn Me On Dead Man on Revolution 9 not been put onto the radio, he wouldn't have wrote that story. I don't think.
No, I don't think he would have done.
So I think, just taking a further step back, the caller who called into the radio station to have them talk about it is where the idea of Paul being dead started. But then he wrote down, well, look at all these clues and all these. Look at all these amazing clues that I found that I've just made up that I can link in any way, shape, or form that I see fit. Look at all these wonderful lyrics. This proves he's dead, and it just took off like.
I also think the other side of it as well is that this rumour's been spreading around university campuses.
Yeah.
And it was exclusively just university campuses.
I'm going to think about the
It
world.
only spread around London a little bit.
Yeah, but it's the world it was to Ben as well. You know,
Yeah.
it's too easy for us to forget that we didn't have mobile phones, didn't have the internet. We just had the local
We're in
paper,
small social bubbles, you had your local paper, your local radio.
and that was it. You know,
They didn't have 24 news channels, didn't have, if the only news you got in Iowa, for instance, I'm only saying that because of it, but the only news you got in Iowa, the outside world, was the New York Times. Could you even get New York Times and Washington Post in Iowa? I don't know.
I don't know. But you also need to remember.
But back in the 60s, the only news we got up in Leeds, we got of London, or the world at large, was when we got the
BBC
Guardian,
maybe, or
BBC News at News at 6 and News at 10, and then maybe the Guardian, the Times, so your national newspapers. If they deem it fit to report it, we didn't know about it.
Yeah, and the worst thing is, like, the talking between campuses. I've played a game of Chinese whispers with my 3 kids.
Yeah.
And between 3 of them, we've got back to me, and it's like, I did not even say that.
Yeah.
So, it could be a case of Paul McCartney's dead. Oh, how did he die? Car accident, I think. Someone goes, Paul McCartney's dead. What did he die? Car accident? Oh, was it Grizzly? I think he got decapitated. It's making stuff up just to
Then it
endorse the
comes back
story.
to you, and you went Paul McCartney's dead. Now it comes back to you. He got decapitated in a car crash. I never put any of that in.
And MI5 have covered him up.
Yeah.
Took his body. Like body snatchers. But in that, it can become, if people take it seriously, it can become fever pitch. It can become embellished, massively embellished.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly in a very small environment, as to where there's no other way to get information. You just pass the story on. Anyway, please continue.
The newspaper containing Fred's article appeared on the Ann Arbor campus early Tuesday morning. By noon, every copy was gone. 2 more press runs followed, the entire campus ground to a halt. As the week progressed, Fred's story spread rapidly eastward, leaping from campus to campus, dormitory by dormitory. And on Saturday night, a student named Louis Yeager at Hofstra University called Alec Bennett's popular talk show on WMCA and informed the city of New York that Paul McCartney was dead.
Wow. This reminds me of War of the Worlds when he called up on the radio station and everyone went heading for the hills.
Yeah. So you see where I'm going? Like, we've got a definite timeline of evidence on how this worked. You can see how it spread like wildfire along.
So I apologise. I will take back when I was saying evidence. I thought you meant as in here's proof he's dead. Evidence.
No, just evidence of how this. I can't think of any other conspiracy theory where we've got concrete, documented evidence of how it came into the public zeitgeist.
Maybe once we've not talked about it.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah. At first, the mainstream news organisations were reluctant to mention the rumour without more evidence because then mainstream news. They're like, we want to be fucking sure because when the news used to deliver the truth.
Are you telling me that news media used to have integrity?
Used to have integrity.
Holy shit.
It did.
I don't believe it.
Miss those days. To the point where a disc jockey on WABC in New York was fired for talking about the rumour on air.
Wow.
I couldn't find any more about this, whether he was saying he was dead or just saying there's a rumour going about, but yeah, he talking about all I could get is he talking about the rumour on air and was fired.
He didn't mention MI5, did he? Because he'd be gone, everything
Yeah,
disappeared.
No, that's probably why I can't see all about him anymore.
He's been disappeared.
The publicity department at Apple Records was flooded with phone calls inquiring about Paul.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
When all this was happening, do you know where Paul was?
Holiday, I think.
He was on holiday in a remote corner of Scotland.
Yeah, he was on holiday, yeah. And it documented that he was on holiday as well. It's like,
yeah.
guys, I'm not dead.
But again,
Mama Jollies.
going in looking at that,
but that is meant to be years after he died, so this could be
2 years out. But this is going to that conspiracy mindset where it gets where is that to stop doing live performances, to change the artistic direction of the band, as it started blowing up. It just so happens being a remote corner of Scotland where he can't be contacted.
apart from Life magazine.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that in a bit as well. So the Beatles' chief publicist, Derek Taylor, called him to beg for a public appearance or at least a statement to quell the rumour.
I'm not dead. Yeah.
Paul, who had been through this before 2 years earlier as the rumours circulated in London, instructed Mr. Taylor to ignore the press and leave him alone.
Well, in those terms, or was a different word used?
I think it's a bit more polite as it's being recorded. My favourite bit of this, and this kind of like, we're just saying about the media having integrity, we miss those days when the news had a responsibility to deliver the truth.
Well, Life magazine maybe not, but yes.
So the media, having no way to verify or dispel the rumour, had no choice but to acquiesce to the public demand for information and began to sceptically cover the story.
Well done, media! I knew you'd pull through!
You had one job! One job!
Well done. It's not as bad as Life scaling his walls and running through his property and taking dodgy photos and...
Within days, the Paul is dead rumour became an international sensation.
Wow.
As this we're going to get into, as with any conspiracy theory or any mystery at all, first rule of thumb, follow the money.
It smells nice.
Polydor Records exploited the scandal by reissuing one of their early Beatles collections with a provocative new cover. And not surprisingly, sales of the Beatles' own records and licensed merchandise, especially their new Abbey Road album, went through the roof, with frantic dealers selling the back catalogue directly out of the shipping cartons.
Bootlegging.
No, I mean, we're literally a case of deliveries coming into the store,
right,
and people are queuing up waiting, they didn't have time to put it out on the shelf. They're just like, yeah, there's a copy of that, yeah, there's of that.
And it was a real expense though, records, back
then.
Big
proper
money.
expense back then.
Yeah. You had to really carefully choose what you were going to buy because it was such a big amount of money. So it doesn't surprise me. As I say, sex sells and death sells.
Yeah.
All these stories will always... So
if everyone's believing Paul's dead, let's ship his old stuff out and resell it. And
whether or not this had anything to do with the record labels up front, they certainly took advantage, didn't they?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I know I was saying earlier, it smells a bit like a viral marketing campaign.
It does stink a bit.
Before we knew what the was, but that's me looking at the 69, 70. Yeah, looking at 69 through a 2020 lens.
Yeah,
we're contaminated by viral marketing and posts and stuff like that.
Well, we're currently the world's contaminated.
Yeah, but we're looking in that lens where it wasn't a thing back then. But maybe they got this little local DJ to do it because the main big DJs wouldn't, and that boosted it up. If they did or didn't doesn't really matter because the end result is if they had nothing to do with it, they shipped a fuck ton of the back catalogue and then we've got the Beatles. Let's slap a new cover on, a provocative new cover on front of it and send that out. And
well, I will say, if you just heard him say that term, fuck ton.
Yeah, sorry.
You're going to hear it next week, and then the week after, and then the week after. It's his favourite term.
I love the word fuck ton.
Fuck ton.
It's because we use imperial measurement, and the rest of the world use decimal measurements.
metrics and all, whatever.
They use metric, we use imperial.
Yeah.
So if I talk about a kilo or a ton or a gram or an ounce, when I get recipes online for cooking, it says use a cup. How much is a fucking cup? It actually works out at 240 grams.
Right, so this is called Badger Ramp 1.
Yeah.
There might be a few.
So, fuck ton is a universally acceptable measurement of weight.
Big fucking man.
Yeah, there was a massive amount of shit going on. There was a fuck ton of stuff happening.
There's no specific weight.
No, a fuck ton could mean 10 kilos, it could mean 78 tons, it could mean...
Or 57,000 copies in 13 seconds.
Or 28,000 cups, if you're in America. Yeah, I love the word fuck ton.
I might have derailed him here.
So you did it.
Do we know what we've got back to?
Right, so what we're saying, well, they basically shipped a fuck ton of my catalogue. So whether they started this or not, if we're being cynical, let's take our cynicism away and say that as a cynic we could go, they started this and put it in campuses so it, hopefully blossom into what it did. Let's remove our cynicism and say they didn't start. This just happened organically without any intervention. The end result's still the same. They're still shipping the back catalogue. They put a new cover on the Beatles collection and flogged it. They were selling the back catalogue and it put Abbey Road album through the roof. So I don't think the record company really cared. They were like, well, he's not dead, but we can ship copies.
It reminds me a little bit of I don't know if America have that X Factor scenario nonsense, but
they do. Yeah, like we have Britain's Got Talent, got America's Got Talent.
There was that marketing campaign, wasn't there, about to not allow the X Factor to be the Christmas #1.
Rage Against the Machine to be Christmas #1. That just so happens to be owned by Simon Cowell, exactly. Who owns X Factor.
So it just reminds me of that.
Yeah, for anyone's not in the UK, the UK Christmas #1, the UK singles chart that we have, I think it's similar to the Billboard 100 in America, but that's albums. We have singles charts over here as well as album charts. And we have a tradition in the UK of having a whimsical, festive, funny, sometimes crappy. I remember Mr. Blobby.
Mr. Blobby, East 17, Stay Another Day.
Yeah.
So
we have this tradition of Christmas #1s like the Darkness
and the pasty one last year, the sausage roll one.
With the Lad Baby or something. Yeah. Anyway, we're getting off topic again. So we have the Christmas #1, which we got annoyed because when X Factor started in the UK, and we apologise, like we've given America and the world Black Sabbath and Judas Priest and Ozzy Osbourne and all this lot.
And the Beatles.
And then we give you X Factor. Sorry, apologies. But we got really pissed off that the X Factor came out and it was, when it releases, the winner gets to release a single, and it obviously got to #1 because of the TV show, but it got the Christmas #1. That was the thing of it, the Christmas #1.
That was it.
So we got really angry, and this social media campaign started to have Rage Against the Machine, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me, as Christmas #1 to go, this will send the message to Simon Cowell who created X Factor. Will that be the same Simon Cowell who, like, if the X Factor winner gets #1, he makes a fuck ton of money.
That word again.
If Rage Against the Machine gets #1, that sticks in Simon Cowell's eye because he still makes a hell of a lot of money because he owns them as well.
So
don't tell him.
No bed. But this reminds me of that wonderful taking advantage of it. It wouldn't surprise me if it's like, just let it run. Just let the story run.
Simon Cowell sent it back because I think this is where the market came in. Simon Cowell, he came out and went, I think this is incredibly distasteful and really sad. Like these performers have worked really hard to get through this competition and then to win it, to prove their talent, and the UK public are taking that away from them. And being British, we're going, fuck you, we will take it away from, we don't care.
I'm going to go buy this song.
I'm going to buy it 5 times. I'm going to buy it on every account. I'm going to buy it on iTunes and Google Play. And I'm going to go to the shop and buy it on CD.
I already own it twice.
Yeah, but I'm going to buy it another 5 times just to tell you dick, because I'm not having that cunt. Take UK #1, I don't care. Yeah, I want him to be crying on Christmas Day. And Simon Cowell sat there going, well, this is working brilliantly.
It's exactly the same.
Because all that happened that year, instead of him getting #1 with the X Factor, he got #1 with Rage Against the Machine and #2 with X Factor. So he made twice as much money.
Well, it was a very Merry Christmas for Simon Cowell.
Yeah, he really enjoyed that Christmas.
But I'm just saying, this as a local
It
thing,
does stink of that, doesn't it?
absolutely. Record companies have just gone, just run with it because we're going to make a fuck ton of money.
Even the record company saw it picking up traction at the American universities and went, Paul, fuck off to Scotland for a bit. go stay on this remote corner of Scotland where you can't be contacted by anyone.
Please, because it's...
Just because if you're not seen in public for a few weeks, this is going to fuel to fire, like, where is Paul now? No one can find him.
That really is our cynical mind though, isn't it? Because...
well, this is why we're Yorkshiremen and we're perfectly qualified to do this show.
especially when drinking beer.
Yeah.
It makes me even more cynical and less likely to believe anything anyone tells me. Anyway, sorry to be able to yet again.
That's our timeline of how it blew up.
Should we talk about Life magazine?
Yeah, so sorry, I forgot about Life magazine. So I'll let you describe what happened with Life magazine.
Oh, great, okay.
Have you got it down there or not? No?
Yes, well, I know that Life magazine basically invaded where he was.
Well, yeah, so basically it's Paul's in remote Scotland. This conspiracy theory has gone international and just blown up.
And they were like, where's Paul?
And he's told his media manager to fuck off and leave me alone, I'm on holiday.
And I'm sure they were the words.
Or he's been sent there and told to lie low.
And they said, I want to come out. He's like, no, you're fucking staying where you are.
Yeah.
We're sending someone over.
There's no here but sheep.
So ultimately they went over, started taking some photos. They got very unhappy, told them to piss off, but supposedly they took some rather unsavoury...
it were two reporters from Life magazine and a photographer.
Yeah.
And the photographer got photos of Paul charging at them and throwing like a spade and a bucket at them and leaving him alone.
And it would ruin his reputation, his image.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
So he said, okay, what I'll do is, I'll give you an interview, I'll talk about all this nonsense, that I'm not dead. You can take your photos, you can do your little magazine, as long as you give me the negatives about all the photos you've just taken, and we'll do a deal. I don't think he got paid for it. I'm not sure I did.
The payment was keeping the film in the camera. Right.
So they did, but they then ran with that story, and if anything, it made it even worse. It's like, you know, this Life magazine going, oh, Paul's debunking all this thing, bringing it to people who've never even heard of it before.
Yeah.
This you've now got it into paper form, which you can keep.
Yeah.
Going, I didn't even know this. Has this got? Let's go back to more records because I want to hear Revolution 9 backwards. What's going on?
Yeah, I want to see this, and yeah, it was that kind of. It just exponentially grew because it was like people who'd not heard this theory, and I went, well, if there's not to it, why is he debunking it? Why are they going? Oh, it's not Paul McCartney, it's William Campbell. I'm like, that's it. If you look at this photo from 2 years ago, and that photo frontal lap, it doesn't look the same. There's a little bit of different. You know, his jaw's a bit different, and it's a bit off. And
oh man, I am sick of looking at those stupid photos. Oh Jesus, man. These right. The people who put his photo side by side with, look at this green circle and look at this green circle. This little bit of an eye is a bit different to that little bit of an eye. Fucking yeah! You grow old, you get different angles, you get different lighting, and I'm sorry, right? But if anybody believes 1960s fucking plastic surgeons can go get similar looks, a bit like Paul McCartney, give him all this plastic surgery and go, it looks fucking identical, including the moles on his neck. We're going to give him moles as well.
Yeah.
We're going to give him all this perfect. If you think those fucking butchers from the 1960s could go, bellissimo.
I mean,
perfect.
Women have it bad in today's society where they have like an hour of makeup routine or a 2-hour night beauty routine, and you don't need it, women. You don't need it. We love you and find you sexy as fuck anyway.
Unless you look like him with a beard.
But you know, you just love touching my beard, you deviant. Can you imagine, like, if you were William Campbell, he must have had like a 6-hour movie set makeup routine every morning. Like, he can't go out of that house and collect his milk in case someone's taking a photo of him looking like William Campbell. He has to put his Paul McCartney face on and.
Well, they said he went under the knife. So to take a step back, this William Sheath Campbell, supposedly it's him. I know he's mentioned the latest songs, but we'll talk about that after. A Scottish orphan who won this supposed nationwide lookalike contest that no one can find.
No, like any evidence of it happening, and it only happened very quickly after Paul died.
Yeah, like 2 days later, you look just like him. He supposedly, like, imitated Paul. They put him under the knife, same height, same build, scouse, left-handed.
I mean, finding a left-handed Scotsman in Scotland is quite impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it might not be so impressive anymore, but in the 1960s, there was only, was it 4 billion people on the planet, 4 people in Scotland, so it could have been, sorry guys.
It would have offended everyone tonight, it's going to be a regular thing though, wouldn't it?
I'm expecting the hate, but to put it bluntly, right, if we get someone who looks quite a lot like somebody else now, with today's plastic surgeons, they can't make someone be 100%.
Yeah, but this is your limited mindset. You're looking at commercial plastic surgeons, not MI5 plastic surgeons.
Shit!
There's a difference in level here.
And I'm sorry, we have aliens from Roswell, it could have been anything to their technology.
Exactly. You've not seen Face Off?
The
documentary by John Travolta.
But that was 1996, not 1966, you know. So,
no, it's filmed in 96. It's telling a story from 66. It's a documentary.
It makes perfect sense. But to be brutally honest, if you're looking at the plastic surgeons of the 60s, now, they may have done some wonderful things, but to go, you look like Paul, but now you have to get every minute detail to be exactly the same as Paul. I don't think you could even get close.
A good example, I think, to throw in there at the time, because it's a car crash that resulted in plastic surgery, is Mark Hamill. In the 70s, I think.
Yeah, that's completely different now. Yeah.
He had a car crash after Empire Strikes Back. Had plastic surgery in the 70s. So we're talking like 5, maybe 9 years after this.
That's trying to rebuild his original face.
Yeah, and he looked markedly different.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who's the lead actor, the star of the biggest movie franchise ever known to man at that point. And they can't get his face looking exactly like it used to, but the Beatles can get Paul McCartney replicated down to the mole.
And down to the nuance in regards to his bit. Well, I guess we're going a bit off track, but I keep going for tangents because I can't. I'm trying to keep myself on track because I'm bubbling.
This is why I put it this way. It's why I put it as like,
bubbling under the
this
surface.
is why on my notes I put it on this way. I've got the theory. I've got the timeline of how it blew up. Then we're going to go into the clues. Because I put it this way just so 'cause I knew there's little bits. I write in my notes. I'm going to need to leave about 5 minutes for my next note there because he's going to fucking go on one.
So normally, we've been okay. There have been some discussions that we've had previously where you said one thing and you've not spoke for 30 minutes. Can I just go down like a train and go, Badger?
There will be some points during these shows. There will be some points where I'll just throw shit in just to wind him up and set him off because it's a thing of beauty.
And then there'll be another time where you may not hear me speak for half an hour because
I'm off on one.
It's just it'll be the point you made in the beginning is the same point you made at the end, and we tied it all back together. So, do we agree?
Yeah. It's another 10-minute run.
I wanted to say everything before we got to the point.
This is why we do the show because we're passionate and we love the art of debate, where we can shout and bawl at each other and not fall out.
So the reason I like the way we've done this. So in this way, and the only reason I'll say that is because too many people automatically come out with. You can read at websites, you can see people doing videos, and they'll go, "Look at all the evidence." Well, actually, don't look at the evidence first. Look at the supposed evidence. Talk about the logic. How can it happen first before you even consider thinking about all the lyrics and the artistry and so on.
We're going to get to what's called the death clues. Is my next bit to get to. But the only way I could put this together really and properly and informatively in the way it comes out was to describe the theory, and then because we don't have it with most theories. With any conspiracy theory, I don't think we're going to get another one like this. Anyone we discuss where we have an established, documented evidence timeline of how the theory expanded and blew up. and where it came from. So then we've explored that. Was it a PR stunt and technology at the time and word of mouth? So I had to do it that way. We have a deeper understanding. For me, we have a deeper understanding of the theory and what's gone on, and a solid foundation to then look at the clues from.
But I think we're also coming. Personally, I'm driving this from an angle of not from being here's all the evidence, let's discuss the evidence and come to a conclusion. It's like, well, actually, let's talk about what is the most logical thing you're going to look at. Look, is it even plausible before you start talking about these supposed death clues? Is it even plausible before we get there that this could even happen?
Yeah.
I can't even get into my mind.
I feel with this and the research that I've done in this last week, I feel we've covered this in a deeper level than any of the research I found.
I just don't understand it.
I feel we've got to that point where we're just about to get to the evidence and the death clues. Well, not the evidence, the death clues. We're just about to get to that where most people dive straight in with that. This is why I'm really proud of this show, especially this one, where we've got that foundation. We've got, this is a theory, this is the timeline. Now let's look at the evidence. We've got a foundation to go. Anyone watching has got a deep understanding of not just what happened, but how it happened.
I can tell you how it happened. It didn't happen. yeah, it didn't, by the way.
Right, so we've set the foundation. We've set what the theory is, with how it came to international prominence.
Yes.
Now we're getting to the crazy.
Well, let's not do people a disservice. You're not crazy, you're mentally challenged. There's a difference. there's a difference.
The Aleuminati, politically correct as always.
Absolutely.
So well, so we're getting to the crazy. These are what are being termed in Beatles fandom, I suppose is best.
Before we get into this, can we say last week, before we get to a conclusion at the end, where were you on this? You can tell me at the end what your mind is today, but where was your mind last week?
Last week when I brought this up,
Yeah.
my mind was, because I knew of it obviously, was this is absolute bollocks, but I know you're a massive Oasis fan, so in turn I assume you're a Beatles fan.
Absolutely.
And this would wind you up and it'd be funny. This is going to get
me a good job.
This is going to get me a lot of hate, but I think the Beatles are overrated. I think they're overrated.
Right, just call the cops. No, the
just don't get it. Just don't get it.
Yeah, you won't.
I want to hold your hand. What the fuck?
Remember, they started as a pop band.
I know.
No, I don't want to get on camera and do the bit about the Beatles because this could be a fucking long night. But they basically, in my opinion, they were the father of, or mother, or parent, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what 21st century I'm allowed to say anymore. They birthed the, ultimately, they birthed music from a genre of music for which everyone is trying to be. And
I find, I just don't know, my musical taste personally, I'm going to get a lot of hate here, but do you know what, I'm allowed my own opinion, it's fine.
It's not, not on this video.
I find the Beatles overrated, I can't listen to them, I think
get it.
I think they're poor, but I appreciate their influence because throughout the Beatles, we wouldn't have had a singer-songwriter like Noel Gallagher of Oasis, who I absolutely adore. Oasis, Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds. I absolutely adore that music. Now, that wouldn't exist in this world without the Beatles, so even though I find the Beatles overrated and I can't listen to their music, I appreciate them because their influence went on to create bands like Oasis and Blur and the whole Britpop scene, really.
The reason why the Beatles are probably the best is it's because, in my opinion, even though I don't think as you said, I was brought up as a 90s boy. Britpop was my thing. I was brought up with Oasis, Blur,
Republication, Seven,
all that wonderful music and the Lars and all that sort of thing. Yeah. So, but the Beatles were the band that everybody plagiarised, and so because everybody plagiarised, then they didn't do much of it themselves. They took a bit of influence regarding sound, but they didn't nick a riff off someone. everybody's plagiarised the Beatles, and so therefore they are the bedrock and foundation of all.
Yeah, like I said, I don't enjoy the Beatles, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean I can't appreciate them.
You must enjoy some songs like Hey Jude and Revolution and...
Hey Jude's great when you're pissed at a family party.
Yeah, but that's what music's about, man.
No, when you're all stood there pissed up going, nah, 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 nah. You know,
Don't sing again.
No, it's, that's great for those moments, but it's not,
Yeah.
you know, if I'm going to sit down and listen to something, I generally listen to, you know, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Placebo, Nirvana, bit of Offspring at times, a lot of pirate metal, and Britpop, and Beautiful South.
They're all little bucket of genre.
You know, but no, it's stuff like Queen and Metallica and Black Sabbath is what I listen to. I wouldn't put a Beatles album on,
I can listen to all of those as well.
but I'd put an Oasis album on, and I'd be appreciative of the Beatles because I'm listening to an Oasis album.
That makes sense.
So I'd have to enjoy them to be appreciative of them.
I'm not suggesting everyone should like the Beatles. I mean, thank you, Dad.
Well, my dad is the reason I listened to, like I say, 90s kid, Britpop, grunge, all that lot is what I'm into, but then went on to metal later on. But thanks to my dad, I still listen to Beautiful South. Because that's all I heard of my house growing up, and I absolutely adore Paul Heaton as a poet.
Yeah, absolutely. But, what we was talking about again? Anyway,
So,
you said something about the Beatles not being... This is
I
tangents,
said,
I'm sorry.
I said the Beatles were overrated, and you can't say that without some sanctimonious prick having a go at you.
Actually, on this occasion, I held my own, and I didn't go nuts. I almost hit the bottle.
You were quite subdued. You did go for the ball. Your instant reaction was,
On this occasion, I
let's
held the
more
bottle
bomb
back.
dagger this bastard.
However, let's get to the clues
Right, so
for you mentally challenged people like
we've
that.
been alluding to this for a while now. We'll get there now, and you brought Revolution down a few times. I've gone, not yet.
Well, what I will say, I just say, I think the probability is we are not going to cover all the clues. There's a great probability. We're probably going to.
There's hundreds of them.
So we're probably going to cover the most commonly known ones, I would assume.
Yeah, I've taken some of the main ones out. There's one I left out because I didn't think it was relevant, but I've seen your notes, you flicker through that you've got it, so it's fine.
Okay.
So, the death clues that we talked about for people who don't know. Beatles fans believe that clues signifying the fact of Paul's death had been concealed on the album covers and in songs released by the surviving Beatles. And this is where the conspiracy refuses to die.
Yes.
Because this is interpretation and this brings up debate.
But this is different. This conspiracy is different to many because this is a conspiracy only if you're trying to find it.
This isn't a conspiracy of did this happen and was covered up. This is a conspiracy of interpretation.
I 100% agree. You can look at something and interpret it in any way that you seem fit to fit your particular narrative in your echo chamber.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And
This is cherry picking to suit your narrative.
And forgetting about everything else that disproves what you're thinking of. Going, no, none of that exists because this one piece that I'm looking at fits the story I want.
Yeah.
And I'm going to precursor that before we start talking because the rest of it's going to be a rant.
Well, that's talk about cherry picking. You mentioned just a little bit back then that there's hundreds of death clues, and so throughout my research, I'm looking at the theory and looking at all the death clues and stuff, and probably I've not even looked at all of them because it's a ridiculous amount.
It's going to be too many.
So the death clues I'm going to talk about, or the ones I want to talk about.
Okay.
I've focused on because I've structured this quite nicely. I'm quite proud of how I did this. Don't expect this every week.
This is unusual.
So I'm going to focus on the death clues from 4 albums.
Okay.
So that's Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Yeah.
That was released in June of '67.
Yeah.
The soundtrack for the Beatles TV special Magical Mystery Tour.
Yes.
That was released in December of '67.
Yes.
The double album is the double Beatles album is being called the White Album.
Yes.
Just because it's
white sleeve.
just the white sleeve.
Yeah.
Right. So when I refer to it as the White Album, that's what I'm on about. It was released in November of '68. And the soundtrack to the Beatles animated film Yellow Submarine released in January of '69.
No Abbey Road.
pedant. I've got some stuff about Abbey Road, but these are the main thing I'm going to look at, and then I've got Abbey Road at the end.
Okay.
I wrote these and then put the clues in, I forgot to put Abbey Road after. So I'm going to, so 5.
Yeah.
We're going to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club, Magical Mystery Tour, The White Album, Yellow Submarine, and Abbey Road. They're the 5 I'm taking my clues from. Do you got any other albums from them, or?
Well, I've got we'll do them. We'll do
that. Right, so
that,
throw yours in as well if you want, but should we start with Sgt. Pepper?
Yes, let's do Sgt. Pepper.
Right. So this is one of my favourite ones. On the front cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, there's a lot of cultural icons in it and stuff like that, right? But the British comedian Izzy Bond is raising his open palm directly above Paul's head.
Yeah. So, are we going to talk about one at a time and debunk them, or are we going to talk about them all and then talk about them in the end?
Talk about one time and debunk them. Right. So the reason this is a death clue, right, by fans is that so on the cover he's stood at the back like, and he's kind of got his hand over his head like this from behind him. This gesture, according to clue hunters, is an Eastern symbol of the presence of evil.
Okay.
That's the clue. Is that he's the only one with a hand above his head? Like there's a presence of evil here. He's not the real Paul.
So what I would say, and this could possibly debunk many of the death clues because people choose to see what they want to see here.
This is like looking at clouds and seeing an elephant or a telephone. I can't remember the word for it.
Pareidolia.
Pareidolia. That's it. Yeah.
But that's just making a picture of, because your brain needs to make a shape or something it recognises out of the plan.
I think this is seeing meaning where there is none.
So the one thing I would say is what people fail to even consider, even though none of the evidence is there, is there's a picture of this above Paul's head. Now, if you look at the outtakes of Yellow Submarine, there are about 10 pictures where Paul is not stood there. He's stood completely different places in the scene.
No, this is Sgt. Pepper.
Sorry, apologies. In Sgt. Pepper, there's about 10 pictures of them. With loads, you can go look at all the outtakes.
There's 3-4 different.
There's loads of them. Yeah. He's in loads of different places. He's got a clarinet, a trombone. He's stood in this place, stood at the front, and he's also at the back. Got his back to people. There's so many of them that they just went,
that one looks good.
This is the best looking picture.
Yeah.
And it happened to be under this. Now, what I would say is, all I've read so far is someone say, oh, by the way, this is a death gesture. I've yet to find evidence that is a death gesture from anywhere.
Yeah.
And does Paul even know it's a death gesture?
Yeah.
So, people say it is, but I don't know where from.
The only time I can see this being referenced as a death gesture is when it's referenced to a Beatles clue.
I've never known. I can't find them. I tried to go a hand above a head, whether it's in a peace sign or an open sign or whatever sign. Where's that a gesture of death? I couldn't find it.
I can't. That's it. The only time I can find it being referenced as a gesture of death or sometimes a gesture of evil, and it's an Eastern mythology symbol of the presence of evil, is in relation to a Beatles death clue. It's the only time it's mentioned this an hand above a head is a sign someone's dead or it's a sign of an evil presence or duplicity, is reference to a Paul McCartney photograph.
Right. Yeah.
There's nothing else anyway. So it seems like this has been made up specifically for this theory, and also going back to, like we said previously, 1969, we wasn't a connected planet. The news was slow in getting everywhere. So you've got, it's Eastern mythology. All right, well you know what you're talking about here. I believe you, because you know where you can't whip your phone out. In 1969, you can't whip your phone out of your pocket and Google it like we have this week. So it's kind of like you're just told it's an Eastern mythology thing, so it's stuck. But I can't see any evidence anywhere that it is, unless the only evidence I can find to it is when it's related to a photograph of Paul McCartney.
Agreed. What's point 2?
Point 2, you mentioned is holding a clarinet.
Yep.
It's actually a cor anglais.
Yes, it's got, and one of the things, it's got like a little curve. People say it's like a scythe as well, like a death scythe.
Oh, see, I've not seen that.
Yeah, so what's one of the things is, it's another symbolism, because it's got like a bit of a curve. It's not even a proper curve like a scythe, but it symbolises death. It's looks like a scythe. But as well, in the outtake photos, you see him with a trombone, you see him without a clarinet or a cor anglais. You see him different. It doesn't even necessarily. They chose that one because it just is the one that they chose for the picture, because he had different instruments in different
The
pictures.
clue I've got here is that he's on the corner and Glenn. It's not the instrument that's important. It's that Paul is the only Beatle holding a black musical instrument. The others are holding gold sparkly instruments.
Yeah, but he was also holding a big gold trombone in one of the pictures. I think it's a trombone. I'm sorry, I shit with my instruments, but that's why I could never be a Beatle.
But no, apparently the clue, the death clue on this bit is that they're all holding shiny gold instruments and he's holding a black one to symbolise death, that he's not alive.
If that was going to be the only symbolism they were looking for, he would never have held another instrument in any of the outtakes, because we need to symbolise from death in different positions.
Yeah. Or maybe on a black trombone or a black triangle or something.
But
you know what I mean? Yeah. So you're not buying that one?
No, it's just people looking for what they want, so that's a load of nonsense.
Group of another clue on the cover of Sgt. Pepper, because there's loads in this.
I don't have that many, but you please.
In the lower half of the image, there's a group of hyacinths that are arranged in the shape of a guitar, and 3 or 4 long sticks resembling guitar strings. There's 3 sticks across it, so the hyacinths are kind of in as much a guitar shape as you can make out of hyacinths, with 3 black strings along it to represent the guitar. To say that it's 4 strings for the bass, I think it is, to symbolise that the bass is dead, because the argument that the theory is that the entirety of the Sgt. Pepper's cover is a burial, it's a funeral, so they've got the wreaths in front and the band there, and then all the cultural icons, because he were a cultural icon, so he's on the black instrument because he's dead. There's a guitar wreath showing the 4 strings, that the bassist is dead in the pile of dirt because there's a burial, and he's going to join all the cultural icons behind him.
Well, from I don't know if Peter Blake was a photographer or whatever. I'm sure he was a photographer for the day. He rebutted this whole guitar scenario, going, actually there was just a bit of space at the front, and the assistant went, just before I start taking photos, can we make a guitar out of flowers?
Yeah, I've got that later in my closet, but
I mean,
the guy went, I can make a guitar out of them. This little kid who were all playing, I can make a guitar. I went, yeah, go for it, kid, why not?
Crack up, lad.
I mean, there's another bit. I didn't do it in my notes, but there's another bit I saw where if you draw a line between the hyacinths in a certain way, it says Paul. It's like, you're really fucking grasping at stuff here. That's why I want in my notes. I'm not going to bring it up.
I couldn't even see it.
I couldn't. It was like, once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. And other pictures that wrote Paul over it, and like, still can't see it.
It's like one of those magic eye pictures where you have to stare at it for ages and it pops out eventually. I was fucking looking at this picture for about 10 minutes going, it's just a load of flowers.
I was looking at them side by side. I had one with a guitar made out of hyacinths and one with a picture with Paul wrote over the top of it going, no, don't see it, can't see it. I was waiting up like 5 hours looking at it. I thought I'm going to go, ooh, sailboat.
But this is one of those things we'll just talk about here. It's not quite pareidolia, but it's a case of you've got an idea about what you want to see, you've gone looking for the evidence, and you found something that fits the evidence.
This is confirmational bias.
Yeah, it is.
This is
absolutely.
Paul's dead, and I know that Paul McCartney's dead, and I know there's clues in this photograph.
Because the radio station said so. And
yeah. So I'm gonna find them.
Yeah.
And it's just.
You can find anything you want.
Yeah, it's just confirmation. You, like I was saying earlier, it's cherry picking information, but you could have 15 things that say he's not, and then one thing that confirms your theory. Yeah, this is it. That's proof I'm right.
Because the one thing I would say is there's so many different celebrities and so many different pictures on the front of Sgt. Pepper Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Yeah.
That they're picking the one that they think fits their narrative. So does that mean that the plan was we're going to put all this distraction in place and only the smart ones will find what we're looking for?
Yeah, this is that kind of reinforcement that you know the truth.
But I could then say, well, Aleister Crowley's in there. Does that not make him a Satanist?
Yeah.
Clearly he wasn't, but I could look at another celebrity and go, well, clearly he likes that special kind of celebrity.
And I'm probably sure that 1969 cover, there's a lot of racists in there. I'm pretty sure we could take people back now looking through a 2020 lens. You can go, that guy was a racist, he was a racist, he was a racist. Does that make Paul McCartney a racist? Or is John Lennon a racist?
Both are.
Them with, what is it? You know, well, Paul can't because he were dead, so John Lennon must be the racist. You know what I mean? He's looking for that thing of going. Yeah. They had views of the time.
Correct. Yeah.
So through a 2020 lens, they're racist. Through a 1969 lens, they're not. But for a 2020 lens, they're racist. So John Lennon put all these racists on the cover of his seminal album. Does that mean John Lennon's a racist?
Yeah.
He's celebrating them. You know,
big racist.
You know,
renowned for it.
Found here, discovered here on the Aleuminati, But yeah, and it gets. We've not stopped with Sergeant Pepper's album.
On other belows, carry on. We'll try and go through some.
So there's a drum in the centre of the album.
Yeah. That's a lot of bollocks. Go on.
They discovered that if you hold a mirror horizontally across the centre of the drum, a mysterious message appears. I won, IX, he die. The character to the left of he died being variously interpreted as 111. Representing the three siren Beatles, or a 1 and a 1 followed by the Roman numeral 9, combined to indicate November the 9th, the day in 1966 on which Paul died.
Unless you're British and they spells 9/11.
Yeah, which, was John Lennon.
Paul
McCartney was dead, but John Lennon prophesied September 11.
But it's also, but, if we took it, in America, obviously you guys, you do your numbers wrong. We do it in the way it is. It's the 9th of this particular month.
Yeah, it's day, month, year.
Yeah, not...
America do month,
day, year. Yeah.
We do 9th November, they do November the 9th.
Yeah. So they... Either it prophesies September 11th, and some planes smashed into the Twin Towers, or it prophesies that John Lennon met Yoko Ono at the Indica Gallery.
Or Paul crashed and someone called 999, but the album was released in America, so that'd be 911.
I mean, can I ask the question, right? When I looked at that front cover, at what point did someone go, the really, 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 really smart people are going to have to take a fucking mirror to this? And then when you've done that, you're going to have to go, well, then we're going to have to interpret the stuff that you see, which takes some real mind-bending stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
If the Beatles were intentionally leaving clues, fuck a duck.
I mean,
that takes Hawkins.
It's Hawkins level intellect to put these clues out there.
I mean, fucking
from
hell.
People who were smacking off their tits on every drug going at the time.
A fair place. I mean, Lennon was on heroin. Constantly high as a fucking kite.
So was it the intellect to carry out this master plan of clues, or was it just some hallucinogenic fever dream?
I don't know. All I'm going to say is,
did he turn to heroin because he was covering up Paul's death and he felt guilty?
Don't you fucking start. Don't start this shit. He went to heroin because of an addict. He tried smoking pot. Peace and love, man.
Mm-hmm.
Then he went, alright then, that felt nice, but I can get a bit higher, and it just went up in the fucking
levels. He just won't question the guilt he felt about covering up his friend's death, so he had to go somewhere harder to escape.
And that's why I went with Yoko, so he could fit his penance for the rest of his life.
That was his penance.
If we're gonna feel it every single day, I'll marry Yoko. Sorry, Yoko. Not that you'll ever watch this video. But that took some to get to that point in that drum. What I'm going to say is, whoever found that clue, you need to get a life, because that fucking took a lot of effort to get to that.
I mean, do you go straight to the drum with a mirror held horizontally, or do you go inch by inch of the album cover horizontally, but you want to do so after you've gone inch by inch of the album cover vertically with a mirror?
What the fuck was? I mean, to find that was like some mental logic shit going on.
Yeah.
Because when I've done the mental test, they've given us some like really mad pictures to look at, and which one of these is out of sync compared to the other 16 that you see. It's like,
what? Shit. Yeah.
I've never once gone, let me get my mirror out, you know?
Yeah.
Not once. So, for me, they were searching for something.
But could this be going back to the viral campaign where rumours, word of mouth, like this whole conspiracy theory started by word of mouth from London, and then 2 years later word of mouth by American campuses? So could it just be some like somebody's at a party and they go, oh yeah, I work at EMI. Have you tried holding a mirror across the horizontally across the drum?
That's not what happens.
You know, and then that spreads, and that just to keep it alive. Every so often drop something in, and I mean, I can see that happening. Like, I can see that happening in. Have you noticed Paul's the only one holding the block instrument? Just saying. Like, I work there. I'm not allowed to speak about it. Just make your own mind up. You've noticed that though. Which I could buy that, but hold a mirror up to this because we've designed it in a certain way. No, that's.
And think
that's bollocks.
And think of, like, what Paul. So basically, Paul was meant to have had the idea of the Sgt. Pepper's band, Lone Hearts Club band. It meant to have been his idea. Think of how he must have sat down and gone, what can get a specific messaging through a mirror that sounds like a real word that I could sell as a record album, and gone, yeah, if you put this together, it gives the date I died and that he died.
Yeah.
Think of the shit he must have had to have gone through. If that's purposeful, to go, that's probably harder to do than debunk the mirror, to go, how could I make this happen?
It's like
imagine the thought process.
It's not so much the incredibility of discovering it. It's the level of intellect that went into making it.
Can you imagine how long that must have taken? Like, just to go, yeah, I'm going to implant this message upside down. That must have taken an incredible amount. These guys aren't Freemasons. This is the Beatles.
Yeah.
They were smacked off the tip.
Or it could be MI5.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know, don't forget that.
Anyway, next one, because
so the back of the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club band album. So the back of it was the first time an album ever had the song lyrics on the outside.
Yes.
Right. And as a picture underneath the lyrics, as a picture of all 4 band members. 3 of them are facing forward.
Yep.
One of them has his back to the picture.
Yep.
Back to you as you're looking at it. Can you guess which one that is?
Yoko.
No. So yeah, Paul is the one back. Paul has his back to everybody while the other 3, John, Ringo and Paul, are looking at John, Ringo, Paul, and can't remember the 4th fucking Beatle, no. You're not going to help me out, are you? John, Ringo and the other one are facing forward, and Paul's got his back. George Harrison. It's fucking George Harrison, yeah.
I made him wait for that.
Yeah, I know you did. Oh, look at you like, you bastard, you're just smiling at me. Fuck you, dickhead. But yeah, so John, Ringo and George are looking. If you hold the album in front at the back of the album, look at the back. John, Ringo and George are looking at you, and Paul's got his back to you.
Yep.
That's again further proof that Paul's dead, and there's only 3 Beatles left.
Okay, it couldn't just be artistic impression. It couldn't just be. Why does that mean he's dead? I've also. Do you remember what's the story?
I've just reported my research.
Remember what's the story? Morning Glory.
Mm-hmm.
In front of the cover of that, we got. Well, even though it's a standing, you got Noel walking one way, Liam walking another.
Yeah, that was a reference to Paul being dead. Was the album come on? I've seen that come up as well. That the Oasis, widely considered the second coming of the Beatles, and they knew the truth.
That Liam's dead? No.
Yeah.
Really?
They were referencing that they knew Paul's dead. I've seen that come up on the forums.
I mean, I know the Wonderwall video, you see lots of backs of heads and stuff like that. But anyway, why does that mean anything other than he's got his back to people? Why does it have to mean anything? You said the Beatles. Look at the fucking front cover, it's a mindfuck anyway. What's the difference in sticking that on the back?
Sorry, I put my notes out of order, but jumping back to the front cover again.
Yeah.
Paul's wearing on his left arm.
Yeah.
There's a patch that says OPD on it.
It doesn't say OPD.
Right. That's like in America you have DOA, means dead on arrival. Over here we have officially pronounced dead.
Mm.
So OPD is supposed to be this patch that says OPD is supposed to be officially pronounced dead.
But there's about 6 different pictures of him with different poses, and you can clearly see it says OPP.
Yeah, do you know what actually OPP means?
Ontario Provincial Police.
It was a 1965 tour of Canada.
Yeah.
They was given it by the police. He wore it as a thank you.
So
it's just the angle of the photo that you can't see the P clearly. So you're kind of assuming it's a D.
Yeah. what would have been really funny is if these guys knew that there was all this thing going around and went, we're going to purposefully fuck with all you twats.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this wasn't the best photo, even though you can see OPP in every single other one, you can see OPP.
We're going to put this one that makes it look like D, officially pronounced dead.
Purposefully fuck with all you guys.
But again, going up and looking at honestly what you want to see, even if you take that photo and it says OPD, right, that means officially pronounced dead, like DOA, a dead on arrival kind of thing. But you're ignoring the rest of the patch.
Yeah, exactly.
That has the Ontario province flag on there. So why was he according to the rumour or the theory, he died driving up the M1. Why in England? Why would he have officially pronounced dead and then the flag of Ontario? If he wasn't officially pronounced dead in Ontario, wouldn't it be a UK flag underneath there, the Union Jack or something, or the St George's Cross because he died in England? But no, you're officially pronounced. To me, if you read the whole patch and you see, let's say we take OPD as officially pronounced dead, that and you've got the flag that says officially pronounced dead in Ontario, Canada. Not officially pronounced dead on his way out of London.
Maybe that's another conspiracy. He didn't die in London.
He died in Canada, yeah.
Maybe that's a new one.
So to me, it's just like, we'll take these 3 letters, but we'll ignore the rest of the patch.
Correct. Yeah. Again, seeing what you want to see to fit the narrative that you want in your own mind.
Moving on to the songs of Sgt. Pepper.
Oh Jesus! Okay, I've not done any investigation on songs, but let me see if I can remember them.
The song of Sgt. Pepper also contained disturbing references to an untimely death. One number in particular seems to allude to the car crash which supposedly took Paul's life. And the lyrics go, he blew his mind out in a car, he didn't notice that the lights had changed, a crowd of people stood and stared, they'd seen his face before.
So say that lyric again.
He blew his mind out in a car, he didn't notice that the lights had changed, a crowd of people stood and stared, they'd seen his face before.
That was about Tara Brown.
Apparently it's about Paul McCartney dying in a car crash. But the bit that gets me on this, right, is that the original theory is he left EMI Studios angry, drove off angrily in ice conditions, lost control of the car and decapitated himself, right?
Yeah.
These lyrics says he didn't notice that the lights had changed. Apparently he died on a motorway.
There are no lights.
There's no traffic lights on the motorway, so how can he not notice the lights had changed? Or is that referencing that the band's going down this route and he didn't notice?
Well, actually, in my notes I've got like a really just randomly placed comment, and I didn't even know why I wrote it, but it works perfectly with that song, is John Lennon said, he specifically said, Tara didn't blow his brains out, but it was in my mind when I was writing that verse. John Lennon said to Hunter Davis, and who Tara Brown is, Mr. Tara Brown, age 21, is the heir to part of the Guinness fortune, and he died in hospital yesterday after a car crash at the junction of Redcliffe Square in Redcliffe Gardens, South Kensington. So he was writing a song about the heir to the Guinness.
See that obituary. Died in hospital yesterday after a crash in his car at the junction of Radcliffe Square and Radcliffe Gardens, South Kensington. That fits with these lyrics that he didn't notice the lights had changed, a crowd of people stood and stared, they'd seen his face before. So I'm assuming being a rich millionaire or an heir to the Guinness fortune is you've been on TV, you've been in papers or magazines or whatever. It's kind of like, I've seen his face but I can't quite place him.
Well, John Lennon said he wrote it about him.
No, but I'm saying it's people at the scene who go,
yeah.
I recognise that guy, but I can't quite place him, seeing his face. Whereas, like, fuck, that's Paul McCartney.
Well, no, Paul McCartney was decapitated.
Well, yeah.
There's Paul McCartney. Is that his head? You know.
Yeah.
But no, sorry.
So that picture you just give me there fits. He blew his mind out in a car. He didn't notice that the lights had changed. Junction of Radcliffe Road and whatever, Radcliffe Junction. A crowd of people stood and stared. They'd seen his face before. Kind of says he was famous and people recognised him, but they didn't know where they recognised him from. Yeah, that to me that fits that. Right. Moving on to the second album, Magical Mystery Tour.
Ooh, the crazy I Am the Walrus album.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
On the front cover, the 4 Beatles are dressed up in animal costumes with masks on.
Yes.
And it said on the front Beatle is Paul, dressed as a walrus in black, in a crucifixion pose with his arms out like this. Now, there's a lot of speculation that the walrus is a symbol of death in Roman mythology, in Dutch mythology, and Eskimo mythology.
Apart from, the walrus is John Lennon. Because if the TV series shows it's John Lennon, you got Paul playing the bass, but the walrus is John. And I know that John says Paul is the walrus, but it was, I think when John had got clean from being a heroin addict, he said it was like is it a go anywhere gift? I can't. There's a specific. Let me see if I've got a quote, because he said something along the lines of. Let's have a look. So John Lennon said, we said it in Playboy magazine. He said, the one that contributed to Paul McCartney is dead, uproar, because the lyric said, the walrus is Paul. Yeah. And John said, yeah, that line was a joke, you know. The line was put in partly because I was feeling guilty, because I was with Yoko and I knew I was finally high and dry. In a perverse way, I was sort of saying to Paul, here, have this crumb, have this illusion, have this stroke, because I'm leaving you. Mm-hmm. That's what John Lennon specifically said in Playboy magazine. So the fact that he said that, he was the walrus. He's admitted he was the walrus, but I just said it was Paul as a goodbye.
What goes with the death clue here is that there's a 24-page booklet that came out with the LP when I'm the Walrus was released.
Okay.
And on the second page, I think, there's John says, I am the walrus, and then Nicola, where it says, no, you're not. And that's proof that John isn't the walrus. John's the walrus in the film, but it's repeated 3 times throughout this 24-page booklet, where I am the walrus, and she says, no, you're not, and laughs at him. And that's proof that John is only the walrus in the film to cover up Paul being dead.
Not according to John himself.
I think you're grasping at straws there, and
I mean, John himself.
John himself came out and went, no, it's not. No, it's not.
He said once I got clean, because clearly it had to be fucking mental to write. I am the walrus. Because that is some crazy. Those lyrics make no sense.
Then you could argue that
it's genius.
He was high as fuck when he wrote it. And then when he got sober, he gave that comment, so he doesn't even know what state of mind he was in or what he was thinking when he wrote it.
Well, probably not. Probably not.
It's a convenient answer after the fact.
Yes, but...
I wrote it to mean Paul's dead and he's the walrus, but then I realised 20 years later, this is still continuing. Like, no, actually what I wrote was about me leaving him for Yoko.
I mean, there is some of that, isn't there? I mean, obviously there is some of that.
This is like revision of history.
But I think we've seen before, this album came after, so therefore, if the first album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, if we're saying there's coincidences, most of it's explainable away, did they then go, well, actually, we're not talking about Paul's death from that one, because it's all explainable. We're going to start talking about it from the Magical Mystery Tour instead. Just seems illogical to me. The fact that Paul's come out and said...
The other side of it, the Magical Mystery Tour, it's a fucked up drug-induced. Like, you watch that and you feel like you've taken drugs even though you haven't.
Yeah, and those costumes were made in Poundland. I mean,
so
were awful.
You could put Alt in there to...
I mean... I wish I was with
them. If you're gonna hide it, if you're gonna tell the world that Paul's dead, wouldn't you put it out in a nonsensical, drug-induced fucking film?
Yeah, but the thing is though, if you're trying to get the word, in my mind,
because that's the easiest way to hide it. Like you can't say this. Hi mate, I wrote it. I don't know what I'm on about. And then 20 years later, go, oh no, that's not what it was about.
But it depends. Let's put it back into a single idea. So if the Beatles were genuinely trying to get their message out that Paul had been replaced by another Paul, and they were feeling guilty about it, and they wanted people to truly know that that's what's going to be the case, there's many easier ways to get that message out than there is to put really abstract messages into places, into songs, and have people to try and.
But they couldn't just come out and say it because they were scared of MI5. So they had to put it in subliminal, weird ways that relied on you playing this 10 seconds of this track backwards.
So let me ask you a question. Is Jeff down the street, who lives in his mum's basement, eating chicken wings with mirrors on Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, smarter than MI5? Because if he can work it out, MI5 would have been going, "Oi, dickheads, you sort this shit out. I know what you're doing.
But it's got to
Stop it right now."
It's got to the point where he's too far out of the box. Pandora's box being opened. MI5 can't put it back in now, even with their amazingly skilled 1960s plastic.
It's why they shot John, right?
It's why they shot John.
I get it.
It had nothing to do with the Mockingbird or whatever the book will call it.
They fucking shot John to shut him up from his magical mosquito.
Yeah, that's it. Right.
Anyway, sorry, I'm fucking forgetting. No, but realistically, John Lennon, even Paul McCartney's come out and things and said.
You mean William Campbell?
Yes. In Life magazine, I even think he said, if I can find the quote, he even said it was John.
John was the walrus.
He said, he said, it is John, not me, dressed in black on the cover inside a Magical Mystery Tour. So he even said it's John. John Lennon's come out and said it's me, but I said it was Paul just because it's an ode to say goodbye.
Yeah.
You know, so if you've got two Beatles saying it wasn't even Paul, why am I sat here with you talking about
whether
that's
Paul or not? Yeah.
When two of them come out and said, "Oh, and it wasn't Paul."
Yeah, I think it's just because we can't prove it was. That's what gets this. Like you can go two Beatles have come out and said that it's not him. Well, William Campbell and John and say that to keep it covered up because they can't speak out openly, so they're saying it. So it buys into that confirmational bias.
Clearly, I'm wrong.
You know what I mean? No, I'm saying from the mind of someone who's looking for these clues.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to find what you look for. Right?
You find what you look for, and you're going, well, me and you can sit and go, well, Paul McCartney and John Lennon have said it's John Lennon in the suit. We've no way of knowing. Yeah, but you don't know who's in the suits. We've no way of knowing who's in the suit. Like, Paul McCartney, that's William Campbell, and John Lennon is just saying because he can't openly say that we're right.
Okay, I'm going to say this.
He would leave the clues for us to. He would tell us in clues, but he can't openly say it because they'll be in trouble.
I'm going to say this then. It was the monkeys dressed up as the Beatles in the suits from Magical Mystery.
I'm saying it's not even the fucking Beatles.
Could be anybody. So.
Not even the fucking Beatles.
Exactly.
They were smacked off the tits that day. Didn't turn up for photo session, so they just got some fucking interns and some floor staff in. Wax Susan and took a picture and went, that'll fucking do.
Do you reckon it was that? There was like, right, the Beatles, we're going to do a video. It's like, they've not turned up. We've got all this camera crew. We can't lose this money. But you don't look like the Beatles. You do not have Paul's fucking plastic surgeon. Shit, what we're going to do? Like,
quick. There's a fancy dress store next door.
Quick, exactly. Go get some shit off.
Can you imagine being the photographer? You've been booked in. You're gonna take the photo for the front album of a Beatles fucking TV special. Like, in 1969, Beatles on there. Like, fuck it, I'm gonna go photograph the Beatles tomorrow. You get to it, you get all your shit set, you're looking forward to meeting the Beatles. There's gonna be a story to your grandkids. And the Beatles don't turn up because they're smacked off the tits.
And you got Brenda the cleaner going, how do I get this out?
I can't breathe, shut the fuck up, Brendan, put your arms up.
Exactly.
That's probably how that album cover played out.
That is 100% how that album cover played out.
In my head now, I've got a now in my head where John's in an opium den, Paul doing coke at some party with models,
Ringo's still in Lost.
Ringo's in a loft playing with trains, not realising what time of day it is,
and George is still at
and George is just fucked off his tits in a hippie commune in Kensington. And none of them realise they were supposed to go to this photo shoot today.
Exactly.
So they got Brenda the cleaner, Dave the fucking intern, Alan the fucking maintenance man, and Steve the janitor, and just what costumes on they got from fucking fancy dress store next door, and went down all day like, yeah, I photographed the Beatles album. Did you meet the Beatles? No.
Who was under those costumes? That is 100% how that happened.
That story is as believable as John and Paul are saying about them because it's
that story is more logical and likely
than this death clue
than this. I've got my arms out like the Christ in the crucifix.
I'm the only black one out of 3 white ones to symbolise death, and
We've cracked it. We can stop recording right now. We've cracked this. We've caught you at long last, Paul. We've caught you. Can't pull them all over our eyes anymore.
doing coke with those fucking Vogue models when you should have been doing an album shoot. We know the truth.
You know what? I'm disappointed.
Does that believe, lad? Does that believe?
I'm very disappointed. Anyway, let's get on to the next one.
So we've just cracked that. We've figured out what the walrus was. But going back to this, so the album, the Magical Mystery Tour, came with a 24-page booklet.
Yeah.
Right? Gonna go back to something we mentioned right at the beginning. Right?
Okay.
So page 2 of the booklet has Paul sat in front of sat behind a desk, and the sign in front of him says, "I was."
Yeah, but think of the picture in between going, you was, because there's a picture, there's an old, was it World War II? We need
Yeah,
you.
they're in like Britain needs you kind of Uncle Sam type pic.
But there's a picture of that saying you underneath. So you was. That's what it really
No,
says.
it's just a thing in front of him that says "I was" on his list. Don't you know we
No.
get like Mr. Paul McCartney on the desk?
That's not true.
No, I've seen the picture.
It says that picture of the guy going you.
No, I've seen the picture where it's just like, you know, you get like on a desk where it says Mr. Paul McCartney on front of a desk or something.
Yeah.
It just says "I was" at the front of the desk.
I need to look at this. I'm sure I saw something else. I'm googling for the second time today.
So yeah, he sat in like World War II military attire, uniform. I don't know, like some brigadier commander or something. Maybe World War One. Sorry, more than World War Two, I think. But yeah, the sign in front of it just says "I was" on the desk. It's like one of those signs. You know, you got to get a sign about that big that says Mr. Paul McCartney.
Damn it! I can't find the picture.
Let me see if I can find it.
I'm pretty sure that it had the that picture, and then was on the end of it.
Just wondering, it's in my history.
Let's look at his history.
Because
I'm going to cover the camera.
it wasn't in my history because I put it on my PC, not my phone. Yeah, there we go. I found the website. Right, so I'll put this picture up on screen actually now when I get down to it. I'll put this picture on screen while I show Craig it. Where's it gone? Let's get through all the fucking Sergeant Pepper shit first.
It's a good website what you found there.
Yeah,
Look who's in the middle. Yeah, but look, you.
Yeah. You was. Alright, yeah, I stand corrected. I'll put that'll be on screen back there now. Yeah, I didn't see the you in it, I just thought I want you kind of thing, yeah. You was. Okay, didn't see that.
So, really, it says you was.
Yeah.
What does you was mean? Is it just a pissed up?
Yeah.
It means, so if you look at it as a picture from left to right, as we'd read standard English, you was. Take that picture away and it goes, I was. That's what people see, but they don't see the full picture.
Well, the mention, because that picture you just pointed out, I didn't notice was in there of like the, it's the World War II?
It's one of the World War, I'm sure it's two going, like, we need you for the war.
Britain needs you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that old Uncle Sam needs you kind of thing in America.
Right.
Now, they point out another shot from the same scene that you can see on page 14 of the book shows Paul from a slightly different angle, and it just so happens that there's a pointing hand in the recruiting poster just above his head.
We've already
So
said,
we're going back to the hand above the head again.
and I can't see a single piece of evidence that suggests that's anything to do with death.
A hand also appears above Paul's head in the cartoon on page 15.
Okay.
Again in the photo on page 18. And yet again on the photo in page 24.
So, what about all the outtake photos that we didn't see? And there's no evidence at all. So firstly, we've already discussed, there's no evidence it means death. There are going to be... I'm not a big... coincidence happened, right? Now, could it be a coincidence? It's more likely for me that this is coincidental than anything else. Or is it we're very aware of this particular narrative going on that Paul's dead. Let's fuck with people.
Let's keep putting a hand above his head. And
Let's
because
keep the rumour going.
my next note is that no other Beatle is ever shown with a hand over his head anywhere in the Magical Mystery Tour, or for that matter, on any other Beatles album. So, any album cover or anywhere in the Magical Mystery Tour or any of the album covers, any published photo, Paul, no Beatle ever has a hand above his head in any published photo of the Beatles, apart from Paul.
In unpublished photos of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, you got Ringo Starr with one above his head.
But that wasn't published.
It wasn't published.
So this is the death clue in that. This is what we're 68 at this point, I think.
Okay, so let's put this in.
So for a year, you've had and nothing ever in the Beatles but was published as a hand above a Beatles head. Only Paul has a hand above his head.
Okay, so let's just say, for the sake of arguments, that I cannot sit here and debunk that Paul is the only one with a hand above his head. What we have shown is all the other stuff that's been talked about so far. We can say is explainable, comfortably explainable. The hand above his head, I've also said, unless people could show me wrong, it doesn't mean anything in regards to it doesn't mean death.
Yeah, I mean it means death in Eastern mythology, but the only proof I can find that it does is in relation to a Paul McCartney photograph.
So, but if we take that into a singular context, because the rest of it we talked it away, Paul McCartney's got a hand above his head in lots of pictures. Even if the hand means death, it doesn't mean the conspiracy of him being dead is true. It just means death following him around.
No, but the theory, the thinking behind this is that this is the rest of the Beatles telling us he's dead.
Yeah, but that has to be tied in with all other parts of the conspiracy. Just someone going, he's dead with a hand above his head. Just them saying he's dead.
I think this is just they heard, oh, Paul's got his hand above his head, that means he's dead. And they went, do you know what? None of us get photos with an hand above our head anymore. We're just going to keep doing it with Paul and just take the piss. We're just having a laugh. It's just an in-joke with a band where they just wind up, oh, these crazies who are our fans will just wind up, we'll keep giving them more ammunition, more fuel.
Because remember, Paul McCartney even came out in 1967 and heard about the rumours. And then they didn't go away.
And in 69 when he went, oh, this rumour's blown up, and oh, fuck off, I dealt with that 2 years ago. I think this is just a band taking the piss.
I think so too, possibly so, but it means nothing. If it's not the band taking the piss, it's just coincidence.
Alright, so we're staying with the 24-page booklet that came
Is there a fucking conspiracy on every page or something? What's going on?
There's a two-page spread that shows the band performing the song "I'm the Walrus." Right. I love that. I kept this in on my notes because they call themselves clue hunters.
Okay.
So clue hunters.
Are you a clue hunter at home?
Notice that
Even the notes.
Paul is the only band member not wearing any shoes.
But okay, Paul often takes his shoes off because it gets warm and he likes to have it. He's just comfortable with his shoes off. We've talked about this before.
I very rarely wear shoes. I put my shoes on when I go out. The rest of the time, I've got my shoes on now, but that's only because for about 10 minutes before you arrive, I have to go out and buy beer because my home delivery didn't turn up.
There's a good reason to wear shoes, but yeah, he's
But I'm normally barefoot everywhere, so.
And so he's even said stuff like this. He said, like Abbey Road, I was walking barefoot because it was hot. It's like he likes to just take his shoes off.
Yeah,
he's got it in many. Do you know there's loads of other shots of him barefoot.
Yeah, I mean I have horrible feet. My feet just sweat profusely. So
such a catch, badger.
I am. So I don't like if I've got socks on and then my shoes on. My shoes fucking stink. So any opportunity I get, I take my shoes and socks off, just to let my feet breathe and not get. Because my feet get. I'm sat here now. I've got shoes on now, but I'm sat here now and I feel perfectly all right. But my feet feel sweaty.
Do me a favour. Don't take your fucking shoes off while I'm around.
No, but so I don't like that. So I don't wear shoes so my feet can't get sweaty. That's my logic on it.
And you guys all really needed to.
And I feel comfortable without shoes on. I feel comfortable barefoot. So yeah, I'd buy Paul's explanation on this.
So do I.
But going out to an international audience, so I kept this fact in. The fact he's not wearing any shoes is supposed to be symbolic of the fact that corpses in England are buried without shoes.
Has he got a toe tag on?
I've never heard of people being buried without shoes on.
When my grandparents were buried, wearing shoes.
My granddad, my grandma, my auntie were buried. We provided shoes. My fiance's grandfather. You provide a nice suit to bury them in, or the favourite clothes or something.
Maybe in cremation you don't wear shoes.
Yeah, but
I've never heard of that fact before.
I've never heard that fact before, but yeah, apparently according to Clue Hunters, the fact he's not wearing shoes is symbolic that corpses in England are buried without shoes. So if this even go about cremation, they said it was buried.
That's not true.
That's not true. That's shite.
No, it's not true, yeah.
Because we put the favourite dress or the favourite clothes or
favourite jewellery, anything.
Yeah, or you do them up, if it's going to be an open casket, you put them in a nice suit with a pair of dress shoes and.
Yeah, I've never known of a cadaver with bare feet.
Yeah, I've not. But
and if it happens, it might happen irregularly, but
it might happen irregularly, but it's not a cultural thing in England. I've never heard of that before.
You want it barefoot when they've got the toe tag on.
But in that photo where he's barefoot, his shoes are visible off to the side, positioned directly above the page number 13.
So?
Yeah, they don't expand on that. They just say that.
There has to be a page 13, right?
Yeah. And also it appears if the shoes are red stained. Like they're covered in blood from his car crash.
Two things. Right, so
this is going to the Abbey Road thing of he was barefoot because he's dead.
Well, let's talk about shoes.
And he's barefoot in the I'm a Walrus picture because he's dead, and his shoes at the side covered, stained red.
Not necessarily stained red. So
There's a little bit of red underneath, and looking at the picture, I thought it was just a bit of bleeding from 1960s printing techniques.
Or alternatively, the bass drum was bright red under in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Could easily be a reflection. And he had white shoes.
So we've got two
Or
perfectly fine examples there.
Or thirdly, most notably, he had red shoes.
No, the black shoes, but there's a couple of red pixels on the photo underneath. Right. And if you look at like photos from the 60s and 70s, they're quite pixelated to what we have now. So I'm just wondering if it's a bit of pixelation in the light, pixelation in the a bleed in the printing.
And so let me ask you a simple question: if I was to try and signify Paul's dead, why would I make his shoes red?
No, they're not red. They look like the stain, but the picture around the black shoes, the setting around them is very, very brown. It's like a brown concrete with a brown scrubbling behind it.
So the idea was.
So I can see the red bleeding through in the print, if that makes sense.
So it's supposed to signify his death, with blood from him on his shoes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, talk about.
Whereas I think it's just a printing error.
I mean, if I was trying to make that as obvious as possible, I'd be going, let's give him a white shirt with loads of red splatter.
No, but they couldn't make it obvious because MI5 would take them out.
Good point.
So they had to be subliminally and
that pesky MI5.
But only the intelligent, well-thinking fans will know. It's for the elite few. This is.
I must be a dumb fucker. Okay.
Yeah. So, for many fans, the photograph on page 23 of the Miss Tour booklet was the one that really convinced them something funny was going on.
Okay.
Paul is wearing a black rose, and the other Beatles are wearing red roses. The black rose obviously symbolised death.
So this was one of the things where I didn't buy the response. So they said they ran out of red roses, and that's why we wore a black rose.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was holding a bouquet of red roses.
Yeah.
So I can't explain that.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he's dead though.
No, he's dead, but yeah, he's wearing the black rose. This is going back to the front of Sgt. Pepper's where they're all holding gold instruments. He's on the black one.
Yeah.
In Mystery Magical Tour, they're all wearing red roses, and he's wearing a black one. It's I only wear that because that's the only one we had. We ran out of red roses, but he gets handed a bouquet of red roses.
I mean,
the film while wearing a black one.
Let's
and he was director of the film, so you said you can't get one more red rose, or you've not got enough red roses.
But were the roses they were wearing, were they real roses or plastic roses?
They were the same roses as the bouquet.
Were they?
I don't know if they were real or plastic, but they were the same ones that made up the bouquet.
Well, I can't really explain that way.
So, and to me, I can't explain that one. Kind of like, you run out of red roses, but you can hold a bouquet of roses, but you just so happen to have a black rose about.
Okay, so let's
Not
just...
one singular black rose lying about.
So put it into context then. So he lied about the red rose.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say he's lying.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore he chose to wear a black rose. For whatever reason he chose to wear a black rose, does him going, I'm going to lie about the red one, which is a bit naughty, to wear a black one, does that signify he's dead?
Does that signify he's putting a secret message to someone? I can buy that. Does it signify he's dead? I mean, what I'm thinking of, like, the way I go with this now is what I'm thinking of is like footballers celebrating goals.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we have, we're both Leeds United fans. So at the moment, Patrick Bamford, when he scores, he does that. Right? And he's been doing that for like a year or so. And I was going, what the fuck are you doing? What's that about? And he recently came out on Instagram and said that, it's a lightning, it's supposed to symbolise a lightning bolt for some climate change campaign group or something.
Oh, whatever it is, yeah.
Right? So he's kind of sending a symbolic message to something he believes in. Was Paul sending a symbolic message to, maybe it's like, do you know what, Mum, you're going to see me on TV tomorrow, I'll wear a black rose just for you.
Yeah, but if that was the case, he would have said it.
It
came out with the bullshit.
Yeah, it came out with bullshit.
He just said...
But maybe we want to keep that secret. Like, I know, like, the, in metal and rock, you get the devil horns.
Yeah, the ram. Yeah.
Do you know where that came from?
The devil.
Nope.
Jesus.
It was, I can't remember the guy's name now, and the comments are going to rip me apart or prove me right, but it was a guy on top of the Pops, a guitarist on top of the Pops, that lived with his nan.
Alright.
So he did that to the camera to say hello to his nan. And that then became ram horns and a symbol of metal.
Fair enough.
But it was just like, so every metalhead you see in the world going like that and moshing and
saying
hello to the nan. No, that's basically, that means hello, man.
You've ruined rock for me.
So, like, maybe it was some I love you message. Like, Freddie Mercury put stuff in his songs for his wife and never divulged them while they were alive because they were just for him and her and personal.
That's fine.
Maybe it's a personal thing. He's lied about it because it's there were no red roses, so go away, leave me alone. And I shouldn't have to tell you that this is a personal message between me and my wife, and
well, maybe.
I don't want to share it, because if I share it, it stops being hers.
Even if it was something more insidious, and there was something happening, we probably don't know about it, but it doesn't mean that I'm signifying I've died. Because we've shown so many other things don't make any sense. Yeah. This basically stands alone on its own, saying, I'm wearing a black rose. If you take away the rest of it, it doesn't mean anything. Other than he's wearing a black rose and the others are wearing red. He could have just done it saying, I feel like the black sheep. I feel different.
I feel the black sheep of the band. I'm not being listened to artistically or...
Because he had so many infighting going on. He said, I'm different. I'm not like the rest. And they were fighting for ages.
Right, so I'm going to have to shoot through these now to about 5% of my phone here.
That's not good.
Strawberry Fields.
Yep.
If you listen to a certain part of it backwards...
I buried Paul.
Yep, I buried Paul at the end.
But we do know that on the Beatles Anthology 2 alternate take...
Oh, this is a remastered track,
yes. No, the alternate take. So they had hold of the original.
Yeah.
But then they basically re-realised it. And when you hear it, clear as day, it says cranberry sauce.
Yeah.
Clear as day. There's not even... It's got cranberry sauce. It sounded very, very similar when it was muffled and distorted.
Yeah, but
clear as day.
The Clue Hunters dismissed that second take of cranberry sauce because that's a remastered track and the covering up.
But it's not a remastered track because they used the original sauce. It's clear as day. Clear as day.
During the fade out at the end, voices can be heard perform the final lines of Act 4, Scene 6 of Shakespeare's play King Lear, The Death of Oswald. but what sounds like a much more specific reference, Paul, can be heard by playing this section of I Am the Walrus backwards. An eerie chorus of voices can be heard chanting something that sounds very much like Paul is dead, haha, Paul is dead, haha. This death clue was actually demonstrated in prime time on ABC's Evening News by reporter Peter Jennings.
So, I think the King Lear thing I've heard before, they were just being really artistic. It was just on in the background and went, let's get it in.
Yeah.
And that was nothing more.
Yeah.
I mean, what more? I mean, what else do you want to say?
I'm going to debunk these quickly now because I'm running out of time on my phone. But so going to the White Album, as I mentioned earlier.
Send me your list. I'll get it on my phone. Email
Okay.
me. Anyway, back to where we were.
Back to where we were. So moving on to the White Album, which I explained earlier, is not actually called the White Album. It's just referred to as the White Album because it's the white cover. It's just called Beatles. The Beatles in it. I don't know, an untitled album, but yeah. So Ringo Starr's first composition for the Beatles, Don't Pass Me By, includes a lyric which immediately caught the attention of distraught Beatles fans. Those lyrics are, I'm sorry that I doubted you, I was so unfair, you in a car crash and you lost your hair.
I read something about this as well. Oh shit, what did I read? Why did he lose his hair?
So clue hunters take this to mean that I'm sorry that I doubted you, I was so unfair is the referring to the argument at EMI Studios in which Paul stormed out of and got in his car angry and drove off.
At 5 a.m. in the morning. What were the fuck doing up at 5 a.m. in the morning and arguing in the studio?
Right. You in a car crash is the crash that killed him, and you lost your hair is a reference to being decapitated.
So I went to say you lost your head?
Because hair rhymes with unfair, so it was poetic license, or rhyming if you like, rhyming couplet. So yeah, the theory is that
Are you telling me that a musical genius can't think of something that rhymes with head?
This was Ringo Starr.
Yeah, but they wrote Yellow Submarine.
But yeah, I'm sorry that I doubted you, I was so unfair is supposed to be in relation to the argument they had at 5 a.m. in the studio in which Paul stormed out of. You in a car crash relates to him dying, and you lost your hair is referenced to him being decapitated.
It could have said something like, I'm sorry that I doubted you and all the things I said. You bring in a car crash and now you lost your head. You know, he could have said so many other things that rhymed that meant you've lost your decapitated.
I think that's grasping at straws, isn't it?
The thing,
but taken as that thing was, I don't know, that lyric is quite.
Is he saying I'm aiming this at anybody?
I think it's quite on the nose.
To who though?
Right, no, if you take this as this means, right, let's take it as the clue hunters are saying. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt, right, for a second.
What's the rest of the context of the song though?
I've already got that lyric of it, right? So, I'm sorry that doubted you, I was so unfair, yeah. That's very on the nose, like, oh yeah, with argument, you were in a car crash and you got decapitated, right? That's very on the nose, saying this is what happened.
No.
Compared to all the rest of the subliminal, weird, slight references of a black rose. You know what I mean? Like, all the other stuff, all the evidence we're talking about is Paul's holding a black instrument, he's got a black rose, he's got a hand above his head, he's barefoot. Very oblique references, whereas this one is quite on the nose. If you're in that, what I'm not saying it is, the point I'm trying to make, I'm probably not putting across right here, is that...
If you're looking for it, you'll find it in that.
No. What just is, all the other clues up to now have been symbolic or hinting, and you have to find your own interpretation. So, you know, the black instrument, the black rose, the hand above the head, is barefoot. This one just kind of goes, oh yeah, we had an argument, you in a car crash and you lost your head. That's a bit on the nose.
That's not what it says at all.
No, but if you're going to, this is how they interpret it. But to me, that's a bit on the nose. Like, if you've been this oblique and this pussyfooting around the whole thing for years, and then suddenly you just come straight out and say it. Like, this doesn't fit with the rest of the clues.
Did Ringo Starr know anybody with cancer? Or did Ringo Starr know anybody with alopecia? Or did he, I mean, it doesn't say this is for Paul. He could be, in my opinion, if I read that if I just didn't know anything about this conspiracy and someone said to me to read that, I'm really sorry I was unfair to you, and now you've lost your hair.
Could lost your hair be slang for getting angry?
Maybe, but if you take it in a...
You know, like we get in terms. I'm just trying to think in where we use language, flowery in terms like a horror film is hair raising.
Tearing your hair out from anger.
Tearing your hair out from anger. I'm sorry that
hair raising.
You were in a car and you lost your hair. Like you crossed your car and you got fucking angry. You tore your hair out over it. He's lost your hair.
So let me read it again. So it says don't.
I'm sorry that I doubted you. I was so unfair. You were in a car crash and you lost your hair. That could be tearing your hair out. That could be a constipation. There's so many. But the point I tried to make was all the other clues that we've discussed so far tonight have been symbolic. It's been a hand above their head. It's been a black rose, a black instrument. It's been barefoot. This one, this one is just like, oh, Ringo Starr straight up saying it, and like, well, why would all the other clues be symbolic and this one just straight out says it? And if the Beatles are that smart and that brilliant, they've hid these clues. Why would someone just go and they go, oh yeah, because it's Ringo's first composition for the Beatles. So you're saying Ringo's not as smart as the rest of them then? He's not clever enough to hide it? Or was he breaking ranks and just straight coming out and saying it?
Or alternatively, does it then mean that they're writing an album, back to releasing music, he recorded it in silo, no one else knew about it, and he goes, right then, I've released some of the album, this is the first time you're all going to hear it. Because at some point, if I read that and I knew it was John would go, Ringo.
It's a bit on the nose. I know. Yeah. Like, let's say we're all in this conspiracy. Let's say we're putting black roses and barefoot and that. Ring, that's a bit on the fucking
You can't come out and go, John's dead. You can't go.
Yeah, you can't go, Paul died in the car. Sorry I argue with you and you crash your car and lost your head. Like, dude, come on with a bit. We need to be subtle about this or we're going to get in trouble. Let's...
And to be very clear, in the UK, when someone says you've lost your head, it means you've gone mad, you've gone crazy, you've gone really angry. Yeah. You become really, really angry. So if that's, I mean, I don't know what Liverpool is, but if you've lost your hair, mate, it's like...
I've said tearing your hair out is frustration.
That, to me, is just... I'm trying to think of...
And car crash doesn't actually mean you crashed your car.
This could be a car crash recording, right?
Yeah, it's a fucking car crash, as in, like... It's horrific, and this is shit, and it's awful. But you can't stop looking. You need to keep looking because it's just your life has spiraled out of control. It's a fucking car crash.
Yeah.
So you could be saying like, I'm sorry I argued with you. I'm sorry that I told you your life's shit and you need to get yourself in order. And you're in a car crash. And your life is spiraling out of control.
And you got so stressed,
and you got so fucking frustrated you were tearing your hair out of me just for telling you.
So can I?
This could be I'm trying to be a friend to you, and you're not answering.
But this is a perfect example of we've sat here and given 3 or 4 different explanations about what that paragraph could mean.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for something in a song, you'll find it.
Yeah. For me, this one sticks out like a sore thumb to me because, like I said, we found 3 or 4 different examples of why it's not and what else it could mean. But for me, it sticks out like a sore thumb because all the others are symbolic and gestured.
And that's right in the nose. Yeah.
And this is just like, it's there. That Paul died. Like, it's like, what, we've been hiding this conspiracy for years, then we give the retarded kid a crayon. That's what it feels like.
Ringo Starr is a talented boy.
No, Ringo Starr's an amazing guy, but if you read into it this way, then it's like...
And I did that pass through the censors, I did pass through the filters.
Like, it wouldn't even pass through John Lennon, but like, dude, we're trying to let them know without telling them, because we don't want to get in MI5 or watching us, we need to be smart about this. And he's going, Paul is dead, I wrote lyrics.
Yellow Thumbery.
It does make Ringo out to be a kind of idiot.
Oh god, that's going to go down really well.
No, I'm just saying. So you're saying like John Lennon and George Harrison would pepper these clues all around and then Ringo's type to do it and he goes, Paul is dead, he in a car crash. And
I'm really sorry if...
So if I offend anyone with that impression, I just realised how fucking bad that is.
That's what I was trying to get to.
Pulled it up twice and I did it 2 more times because...
It took him a while to get...
I've done this far down, so in for a penny, in for a pound.
Off We're going to be off YouTube in the first video. Let's get to the next one.
Moving on.
Ding, ding, ding.
So, side 2 of the album has the John Lennon song, I'm So Tired.
Okay.
A few seconds of obscure muttering can be heard between the end of this song and the beginning of the next song, Blackbird.
Okay.
The muttering doesn't seem to be any form of recognisable English sentence, but clue hunters who played this groove backwards heard something considerably more distinct. The voice of John Lennon intoning the words, Paul is dead man, miss him, miss him, miss him.
So I automatically know. So Mark Lewisham, who is...
I know that name.
Yeah, so he wrote about the Beatles and did lots of stuff with the Beatles. So he said in Rolling Stones magazine, the ending of I'm So Tired, and also the ending of this session's second new song, featured an obscure Lennon muttering in the instance, and what he actually said, because Lennon just muttered, was, Monsieur, Monsieur, how about another one? In forward, when you respond that, it sounds like this, but he just said, Monsieur, Monsieur.
No. So you said he mutters, Monsieur, Monsieur.
How about another one?
Right. The muttering doesn't seem to be any form of recognisable English. Well, that because it's fucking French. Sorry.
So Paul Lewisham said that's exactly what it was. And he...
Paul Lewisham, what is it? Mark Lewisham.
Mark Lewisham, sorry.
Yeah.
I've got Paul in my brain.
Fact checking in real time.
I want to know it. But yeah, so he specifically said that. He said, Paul doesn't say, dead man, miss him, miss him. Paul actually says, Monsieur, Monsieur, how about another one?
Yeah, but he might say Monsieur, Monsieur, how about another one? But if you play it backwards...
It doesn't even sound like that when I've listened to it.
When you clue what it says, when you play it backwards, it says, Paul is dead man, miss him, miss him, miss him.
Have you heard it?
No, I didn't even...
So...
You're gonna realize I'm 5 days into researching here. I got bored of listening to shit.
So, no, I've heard that. I've heard all the supposed record responses. For that one, when you listen to it, you could hear many things that you want. And it's one of those things where you could apply that to the sound.
But there's a lot of things I find in it where,
it's application
like, where it's like, I don't have to have the white album to play it. I can just go search for this and I get it. I can find it on YouTube or whatever, where I can just listen to it being played backwards. Someone's uploaded it. I found with a lot that I listened to was, oh yeah, it does say that. Because I've been told it says that before I listen to it. Mm-hmm. Whereas if I'd have listened to it without knowing it says Paul is dead man, Paul is dead man, I miss him, I'd have been like, that's just garbled speak, I can't hear it, does not say that. But then because you know, even trying on Instagram, does it really say this? You're aware it's it, so you're subconsciously looking for it.
Absolutely.
So you hear it, and it's just confirmational bias.
Absolutely.
Like, you could take those sounds to be anything you wanted, like, oh man, I could really go for a KFC right now. And you could probably hear that right in there.
I did.
You know, you did before filming. But you know what I mean? You could probably hear that if you played it backwards.
Yeah.
I think it's just a case of is it phonetics or sonograph? I don't know which one it falls into.
Not a phonetics or sonograph.
But it's that kind of thing of like, I want to hear this, and it's not fully formed words. It's just certain sounds and vowels. And you can rearrange them in your head as interpretation.
I can't remember what it's called, but I know exactly what you mean. So the thing is, though, when you go looking for something, you'll make something fit your narrative, even if it doesn't make sense. So you could hear something and go, "Well, I want to find this. This sounds like it could say this, so therefore I'm going to make it be this." If I went in with another idea,
but then when I make it that, then I tell you that this is what he's saying.
Yeah.
You subconsciously can't undo that. Subconsciously you're looking for it.
Yeah.
So my confirmation bias has now been passed to you. So it says Paul is dead. This is this. It sounds like Paul is dead. You go, oh yeah, I can hear Paul is dead actually. Yeah, it does. And it's just, it's not you discovering it, you've been told that it is, and therefore you hear that it is.
Yeah.
Or maybe you don't hear it, but you don't want to be the only 1 out of 5 people in a friendship group that don't hear it, so you pretend that you do.
And we all do the same. It's about peer pressure, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So in my opinion, the fact that Mark Lewison came out and said, actually, what he says is, Monsieur, how about another one? Here's a master copy. For me, that's enough.
And then on side 4 of the White Album, we come to the longest and strangest track ever included on the Beatles record, which is Revolution number 9.
Yes.
Which we alluded to at the beginning of this episode, where this was John Lennon just played about with about 10 different loop tapes and stuff. Going back to the TV special that RKO did with Russ Gibbs, the DJ who first brought us light, during that whole conversation, someone said to play Revolution number 9 backwards, and he said, I played it backwards, and man, I freaked out, I went crazy, because the fact is that it says, turn me on, dead man. This final White Album clue was used by Paul's Dead advocates to silence the skeptics. Oh no, I'm going to the next clue now. But yeah, so Russ Gibbs said on that courtroom-esque special that RKO did, that this caller said, play Revolution number 9 backwards. And he went, it says, turn me on, dead man, and he freaked out and went crazy live on air, because it just blew his mind.
This is very simple for me. John Lennon does say, turn me on, dead man, and I've got no idea why he said it.
Mm-hmm.
But does that mean he was talking about Paul?
Joe, I saw this as a nickname.
Dead man? Is he an Undertaker fan?
Is it?
Paul Bearer? Well,
you know, I wear the fucking Stetson and a trench coat.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go, I get called Undertaker, Van Helsing, Captain Jack. I get all that shit thrown at me. Right? Could this be someone that dressed like that in the studio?
Turn me on, dead man. Then turn on the music.
And then they just called him Dead Man, because that's his nickname. And he's just plugged his guitar in. He's plugged his guitar in and gone, turn me on, Dead Man.
Why backwards though?
I don't get the backwards bit.
So if it was part of a talk, and the thing is though as well, no single Beatles that I can find, and if I'm wrong, put it in the comments, but no single Beatles ever come out and said, that's what this means.
Yeah, this has been completely ignored. There's no explanation of this one. But again, is it just being played backwards? You're getting phonetics and semantics in what you hit.
That is very clear. That is very. It
is extremely clear.
Turn me on, dead man. It sounds.
And especially because Gossip Revolution 9, I think adds more weight to it, in that it were experimenting with loop tapes and stuff. So this is the one I can't explain. This one, to be fair.
So the one thing I would say is, turn me on, dead man, doesn't mean it's got. Firstly, it's got anything to do with the death of Paul.
No.
You don't say turn me on, dead man Paul. You just say turn me on, dead man. I'm sure he's got parents or anything. Doesn't mean it's Paul. Got no evidence of that whatsoever. We don't know why he said it to start with.
Don't know why he's recorded it on a backward loop.
Exactly. Other than, but also you need to remember that this was at the height of his heroin addiction. He's recording just like some crazy loops and stuff. He's also very aware of this conspiracy. It could just be a bit of a joke.
What's this fucking about?
Knowing that this is going to get people's interest, but I honestly don't have an explanation. I'm just putting things out there. But at the same time,
for me,
you cannot assign this to Paul because it doesn't say Paul. It doesn't say
no.
Turn me on, Paul, you dead man. You know, it just says dead man could be anybody, anything.
And how much of the album do you have to play backwards to get those 3 words?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? This is a 4-side album.
I'm in a digital age now. I don't have a record anymore.
Yeah, but I think when this came out, I think I'm right in thinking that this was a 4-side album.
I think so, yeah.
So how much of that do you have to play backwards to get 3 words that fit your narrative?
Look, could it? Well, this is very, very unlikely. But could it be that it's just another coincidental thing? Eventually, you play something backwards long enough, you're going to find something that sounds like it.
Yeah, or could this be that you're a dedicated clue hunter and you've gone through 4 hours of recording to get to this message I left you because I'm the dedicated get here. Again, reinforcing that elite status that I'm intelligent and I know I'm on the same wavelength as John.
It makes me wonder though. Think of all the albums that have ever been released, and on a record, you put them on a record and you play them all backwards, unintentionally. Could they say a message backwards without intention?
Well, what this a thing in the 90s with metal, like in the evangelical church, playing Alice Cooper records backwards in the 70s and 80s and stuff, and
Right.
going like, oh, it's saying kneel to Satan, and I'm pretty sure they're like an evangelical church in America.
But did they do it on purpose to piss them off?
No, it was just like Alice Cooper. Like they brought this court case like we want Alice Cooper, but I'm sure Alice Cooper. Maybe it was the Osborne, I'm not sure, but it was basically like we want it banned because they're like, yeah, you play backwards and it says Hail Satan, kneel to Satan.
Right.
And I think it was Alice Cooper. I might be wrong. Please, someone correct me in the comments, but pretty sure like it came a massive thing, and Alice Cooper went down and went, well, how do you answer questions that you play your song backwards? It says Hail Satan. He went, I'm more of a genius than I thought. I didn't even know I did that. And like, yeah, alright, it does it? I don't know. Like, okay, bye. His response was just like, yeah, whatever, I don't give a fuck.
It was completely unintentional. But to get back to the point then, I don't know why he said it, it's definitely there. If he did it intentionally, we don't know why. But it still doesn't evidentially say it's got anything to do with Paul McCartney being dead.
That's it.
It doesn't point to anybody.
Yeah,
Turning Me On Dead Man could be my granddad.
Yeah.
It could be anybody. It's like, well, it can't be my granddad because obviously, but it could be any dead person he's ever known. Why Turn Me On? Turn Me On don't mean...
I don't know, is there a dead man switch in the studio? Or on a live form, just like Turn Me On, like, let go of your dead man switch, let me play. Turn Me On, could it be a nick? I don't know. The reason it's... The phrase could mean anything.
It is tantalising.
But the fact it's put on backward, you can only if you play the record backwards.
Sounds purposeful.
Sounds purposeful.
And a message.
But a message to who?
And why? And...
Doesn't say it's a message about Paul or Paul being dead.
And this is the issue, right? So there's too many things happening within all these things that we've read so far and see, time to come is they'll see something and go, that automatically must mean this, rather than the fact that there could be 1,000 different explanations as to what it could really mean. It automatically go, that explains my narrative, that explains my purpose of what listening is to start with. It doesn't mean that. Anybody can fit anyone's narrative with a conversation piece by taking things out of context.
It's such an ambiguous phrase that you could fit it to any context.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't know who Dead Man is. We don't know what Turn Me On means. Turn Me On in itself, light, radio, sexual, anything. Yeah. Could mean anything to anybody.
Plug my guitar in, you want to switch that socket on and turn my electric guitar on.
Let's pretend he is talking about Paul McCartney. Let's pretend he is. On his record, he's saying to Paul McCartney, turn me on, son.
Yeah.
Is he saying, I've got sexual desire? Is he saying, turn on my stereo? You're the dead man, aren't you? Turn me on, dead man.
Is
and
he,
in joke, it could be anything.
Is he in a heroin-induced fucking state where he's going, I can't write, I've got writer's block. Fucking, come on, dead man, I'm going to fucking jack up high and see the other side. Can you come speak to me and turn me on and turn me on to some good lyrics and some good tunes?
It could be, it could be...
You could write this in 1,000 different ways.
And that's the problem. The problem with this particular conspiracy so far is it's all down to there's so many people could read and listen to the same thing and come up with a completely different interpretation, but with a singular idea and a singular narrative of Paul is dead. You go, it must mean this. It mustn't mean that.
No, it could mean a million other things, but you're discounting them because this one thing out of a million proves your narrative.
Because I can't explain that, right? I can't give you a reason why it's there. I can't give you a reason to who it's for or if it's purposeful. Mm-hmm. No idea whatsoever. But all I can say is just listening to Turn Me On Dead Man on its own, considering 95% of the stuff we've talked about so far, we're being able to say, it doesn't make any sense, we can get rid of it, we talk it away, there's evidence of other people telling you what it really means. Basically, we have to take that on a singular context now, pretty much. And turn me on dead man.
That's it.
What does that mean about Paul? It doesn't mean anything to do with
That
Paul.
was intentionally wrote backwards, because this isn't...
Probably.
Paul's dead, I'm missing. Oh no, I was saying cranberry sauce. This isn't Monsieur. This is not missing. This is blatant. You can quite easily hear it.
Without explanation, yeah.
It was written to be put on and played backwards, and it was put on there for reason and purpose. It was intentional, but it could mean a million different things.
I think we should get off this point now, because we can talk about this all night, because I think it's...
when I said earlier about I was quite offensive about Ringo Starr writing bang on the nose.
Was it?
So the final White Album clue was used by Paul's Dead Advocates to silence the skeptics.
Okay.
And it's from the John Lennon song Glass Onion on side 1.
I can automatically debunk straight away, but go on.
The lyrics are, I told you about the walrus and me, man. You know that we're as close as can be, man. Well, here's another clue for you all. The walrus was Paul.
Do you want to know the issue with Glass Onion? It was written in 1968 before Paul's death.
They died in 66.
Did he die in 66?
66 was the car crash. Yeah.
Okay. Say that again. Say that again.
I told you about the walrus and me, man.
Yeah.
You know that we're as close as can be, man.
Yeah.
Well, here's another clue for you all. The walrus was Paul.
So we've explained that away already.
Yeah.
So, he already said, I am the walrus, as in John is the walrus, but
I gave it to Paul because I was with Yoko and I was leaving him.
Yeah.
So we're but yeah, this is the one that silences the skeptics.
John said it isn't.
I said earlier, he gave an explanation 20 years later.
But maybe.
Right, so moving on to the last album for the Death Clues, Abbey Road, and this is where I feel it started out and went back in modern day terms.
Okay.
Paul's Dead Room had already begun to circulate when the Beatles released Abbey Road late in September '69. Fred LeBeau, who we talked about earlier, who wrote that article, seems to have personally invented many of the death clues that's traditionally attributed to this album. So the clues are that the 4 Beatles are crossing a street called Abbey Road, and they're leaving what appears to be a cemetery on the left-hand side of the album cover.
Okay.
So they're walking out of the cemetery. First Beatle, John Lennon, is dressed in white with a long hair and looks like a doctor or a minister, even a Christ-like figure or God-like figure if you want.
And he looks fucking impeccable, by the way.
It does look amazing. The next man walking across the street is Ringo, who's dressed as an undertaker.
Yeah. In black, yeah.
Then there's Paul, who's wearing an outdated suit and is barefoot, which would suggest a corpse. We went earlier about the corpse are very barefoot, which is bollocks. And George Harrison is wearing denim clothes that looks like he's a gravedigger.
Do you go to because wear denim?
It's hard wearing material.
Right, okay.
It doesn't stain, it's the kind of thing you'd wear at grave digging. It's like construction workers wear jeans.
Okay.
There's a parked Volkswagen with a registration plate on the back. The last 4 digits of the registration plate are 28IF.
Okay.
Which says Paul 28 if, which means he was 28 if he was still alive.
Well, he's actually going to be 27. He's still 27 at the point of Abbey Road.
Yeah, but he'd be coming to 28 if he was still alive, because he was 4 months away, I think, from his birthday. And the back album of the cover, there are 3 dots on the wall up at the top that appear drawn. If a line was drawn between them, it appears to make the number 3, so the album would say 3 Beatles Abbey Road.
Okay, so let me talk about all of those. So, what's the first thing you talk about them walking across the road with Lennon at the front looking like Jesus?
No, the first thing is they're leaving a cemetery. They're crossing the road, leaving a cemetery.
Okay. There's a
So
cemetery
they've just buried Paul.
Okay, so firstly, let's just say there's a cemetery near Abbey Road. There's a fucking cemetery over the road.
Yeah.
Cemeteries exist.
Yeah.
And Abbey Road happens to be next to a cemetery.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's true, but
I don't know if it's true or not, but
if it's next to a cemetery, it's next to a cemetery.
Yeah.
Second thing, then we talked about the order. We had Lennon, Ringo Starr, Paul McCartney, and George at the back.
According to the clue hunters, Lennon's the priest, Ringo's the undertaker, Paul's the corpse, and George is the gravedigger.
Okay, so there were 6 pictures taken of Abbey Road, and they were holding up traffic, and the one picture that they took with Paul had the cigarette in his right hand,
which is supposed to signify as an imposter.
It was out of step with the rest of the others.
Yeah.
It was third in line, with Jesus at the front and the gravedigger at the back. The problem is, if you see the other 5 photos of them basically rushing across the road backwards and forwards, because there's 3 photos of them going that way, 3 photos of them coming that way.
And also, I think it's important to point out here for anybody that's not from the UK, the Abbey Road album, they're walking over what we call a zebra crossing. It's black and white lines, right? So when we have traffic lights and pedestrian crossings where you press a button and the red light, the red man turns to a green man and you can walk. In the UK, zebra crossing, you have to stop. If someone's crossing, you have to stop. So it's a Beatles. Yeah, so if you're going back with the Beatles, are essentially going backwards and forwards, taking photographs for that album crossing. No car can legally go forward.
That's right.
It's not like, they were waiting for the light to change and then they went and did it. Like, a zebra crossing means if there's a pedestrian stood, you don't need to be, if you're stood at the side of the road, you're stood on the pavement or the sidewalk in front of a zebra crossing, a car has to stop for you to cross. So they could hold traffic all fucking day on that road and be legally in their right to do so.
And traffic would back up in London all day long. So they did 6 photos because the Ian McKellen who took the photos was talking about they had to get them done quickly because they were backing traffic up.
Yeah.
And it's the fucking Beatles, for God's sake.
One, you're backing up traffic in London, which is fucked for traffic, especially in the 60s, 69, but this way, especially in the 69, it's fucked with traffic. Like, if you block up one road, everything just comes to a standstill in that area, because London is built so tightly on top of each other. Secondly, you take too long, and people are going to go, fucking Beatles are on Abbey Road, and you get a fucking mass Beatles hysteria descends in. So you need to get in, get your photos, get out.
Yeah.
So that when everyone turns up and all the screaming fans turn up, you're not there.
Correct. And there were 6 photos taken, 3 in one direction, 3 in the other. Some of them, Paul was stepping in the same as them, and George was not.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have a cigarette in one hand in one of them. They basically took the best of the 6 pictures. It was simple as that.
Yeah.
There's no science behind it. And he said, ultimately, for Abbey Road, I was like, why are you barefoot? He said, it was fucking hot.
Yeah.
And clearly he's got issues with his feet.
This is a running theme that Paul takes his shoes off.
Yeah, so
I said, this isn't
very simple.
This isn't a weird behavioural. We mentioned earlier, I do it. I don't like to wear shoes. I take my shoes off any opportunity I get.
So
Paul takes his shoes off in the 2-page spread of I'm the Walrus. He takes his shoes off in the Abbey Road photos because it's fucking warm and his feet are sweating and he didn't like it. So he took them off.
So for me, this is very, very simple. That photo means nothing. There was 5 of us, they took the best one, and it just so happened that Paul was in misstep to the others. But the other 5, if they were purposefully trying to find something specific, you'd see the other 5 outtakes as being something very similar. Cause it's like, just try and get them all as close as possible and just choose the best. The other 5 are completely different.
Yeah, it's just we took 6 photos. This is the best one, exactly. And it's iconic.
Yeah,
and I think the fact it's probably the most iconic album cover in the world.
Probably.
Arguably second or first, but you could argue whether it's
I mean,
the
Nirvana's...
Abbey Road cover or Nirvana's Swinging Baby.
Yeah, I think Swinging Baby is very, very iconic.
You could argue one or first or second, depending on
I
your viewpoint. But
Abbey Road, never mind. I think, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to go to the climax of the Hysteria, but...
no, what was it, before we do, what the other set you had, there was...
that was it for Abbey Road.
So we had the walk... Oh no,
the back album of the cover. The car has got 28 if on it.
But it doesn't. In the UK, it's 28 1F. It's not an I. That's a 1.
Because you can't have I on a UK number plate because I looks like 1.
And Ian McKellen, the photographer...
It's like you're not allowed O on a number plate. You don't have I and O on a number plate because it's replaced by 1 and 0.
You do have O's and zeros and number plates.
Only after on a 58 plate, I think, innit?
Is it?
Yeah, I think before a 58 plate.
Sorry,
in the UK we have this thing where you have like so in the UK, I'm going to get my years wrong here, but in the UK we have numbers to designate the year the car was made.
Yep. So
we have like a 58 plate is 2008, and then 2009 will be a 59 plate. So it'll have like X1758 2 or 3 or whatever. Yeah. So the 58 plate did make sense.
It's generally 2 letters, 2 numbers, and then 3 letters.
Yeah.
Mixed with letters and numbers, anyway.
Yeah. But you can't have an I or an O. So you can have a thing like customised plates. So you can have I can badge as a customised plate. But I can have I am Badger as a customised plate. It'd be 1 and Badger. Because you can't have an I or a 0 because they look too much like a 1 and an O. So you don't get I am Badger. So it's also like, I think you couldn't before 2000, I think you couldn't have an S. So that's why people with personalised plates use a number 5 as an S.
Right. Well,
so when you say, the point I make is when you say it says 28 if,
it doesn't.
Back at that time, it didn't. It was 281 F.
Yeah.
You're reading if.
So, well, Ian McKellen, the photographer, said about the car in the street that said that on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Said they couldn't get the car out the street. They tried to get it towed. They couldn't even find the owner. But because they were blocking traffic, they had to rush. Also, the license plate is a 28 1F, not a 28 IF.
Yeah, so like, we put the I in 1. I could buy the if. I'll buy 28 if. Right? Just because I know people who've got... my mate got Simon on his number plate. When I was like, about 20 years ago, my mate got Simon.
But we were allowed in 1969?
Right. But no, I was saying about 20 years ago, my mate got Simon as his number plate.
But that's 2000.
Right?
Yeah.
But he wasn't allowed an S.
Right, okay.
And he wasn't allowed an I. So his number plate wasn't SIMON, it was 51MON.
But it doesn't matter.
Right, and that read as Simon in number plate language, if that's the thing.
But
right, so 28 1F is 28 if. It's the same thing for me. It's the same thing because it's as like you have text speak, you have license plate speak, like 51MON meant read Simon.
Okay.
Right.
That's a stretch, but I agree. Okay.
I'll buy that. I'll buy that. 21F. I can get that. What I love about this story is that they banged on every fucking door, like 4 doors up and 4 doors down, kind of thing. To go, is this your car? Can you move it? And no one answered the door. And they went, fuck it. Let's just carry on anywhere then.
Happy coincidence.
So yeah, it's just.
It's a Beatle car. It's just 28.
I reckon that guy has sold. I reckon whoever on that Beatles sold it for a fucking shitload. And went, that Beatle.
No, a fuck ton.
A fuck ton. Sorry for a fuck ton. Because he just. Can you imagine going like, oh yeah, I'm selling my Volkswagen Beetle, well it's an outdated car, man. I know they go forever and they're well built, but it's an outdated car. Featured on album of Abbey Road. Give you 7 times the asking price. This car goes for 500 quid second hand. I want 20 grand for it. Fine, I can buy one next door for you. Yeah, you can buy that one for 500 quid, but can you buy this one that wouldn't album cover Abbey Road? I bet you someone somewhere owns that Volkswagen Beetle that was on the cover of Abbey Road just because it was on the cover of Abbey Road.
100%. So, have we? Is there anything more for
the album, the dots on the back of the album cover? So the album cover has some dots on the wall, and it says Beatles Abbey Road. But if you draw a line through it, it says 3 Beatles Abbey Road. So that's kind of alluding to that, William isn't a real Beatle. There's only 3 real Beatles there.
So I can kind of get it. I can get where people can draw a 3 from it. You can get that. But you can also draw a half a triangle. You can also,
an hourglass.
So, if you're looking for something, you'll find it in that particular instance. You can draw a 3, but you can do other things with it as well.
I think this goes back to you can find it if you're looking for it. It goes to confirmation bias.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm going to move on then to what I've classed in my notes as debunking.
Well, actually, I've got a couple more.
You got a couple more?
Before we go to debunking, there's just a couple of tidbits. We really have covered the main part.
Because we've covered the guts of it, I think.
There's the yesterday, the one. There's a couple I wanted to talk about. There's yesterday and today,
right?
Which is a bit weird. So it's basically, I think the yesterday and today is like a greatest hits album.
Yeah.
On the first album that got released, you see the Beatles with meat all over them and decapitated babies, dolls without heads.
Okay.
So there's the meat.
That's referencing.
But so
all be decapitated.
So the debunkers will say the meat and the decapitation. And we'll talk about Paul being in a car accident and being completely decapitated. That. Once that was produced, they went, holy shit, well, you can't put that out there. We're a family-friendly album.
Yeah.
Then they created a second album, which is the 3 Beatles stood up, being Ringo, George and Paul, and John. But then you've got Paul sat in a trunk, like a carry trunk.
Like he's been buried beneath them in a coffin.
If you turn it sideways, it looks like a coffin.
Yeah.
So people are saying, what are they trying to say with these 2 album covers you've got?
Well, this is the same as the album cover for Let It Be, which is you've got 4 photos in a square, and John, Ringo, and George are on a white background, and Paul's on a blood red background.
Looking at the camera,
everyone else looking away, and Paul's looking directly at it. He's on a blood red background. Yeah. So this is where there's a
I think
consistency here.
Same as Revolver, exactly the same. So this is the one thing I would say, and this is the thing that something is clearly being. I think something's trying to be said because Paul, in every single album, is the only one who's ever got a hand above his head. He's the only one ever who is out of uniform with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So Paul always, if there's ever any difference, it's always Paul.
Yeah.
And
gives food for thought.
But I don't know if that's because Paul, personally, I think it's because Paul feels more like a black sheep. And he feels like he's possibly not getting the recognition he deserves. And he's like, I'm different. And he's portraying his difference in the covers and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I going back to the Black Rose in the Magical Mystery Tour, it's always generally considered that John Lennon was a genius of the band. When
Possibly.
Paul's going, I'm just as fucking good as him, I'm doing just as much as him. But, so he wears a black rose instead of a red one. But Paul directed it. Paul directed that film, so Paul's going, I'm having a fucking different colour rose to you guys, I'm going to stand out from you. I'm going to stand out as someone different to you all. And the excuse that, we couldn't get any red roses is bullshit in mine. I think it's nice, easier. It's just an excuse he gave because he didn't want to go, I have a massive fucking ego, and I want it to be bigger than John, because I deserve to be just as big as John, and John gets all the credit.
And he did. He does.
I think like wearing the black rose, being out of sync in the photos, out of step in Abbey Road, being the album covers being a bit different. Is just Paul going, I've got a fucking ego and I'm different to you all.
I don't even necessarily think it's ego. I just think that in the era that the Beatles were around, that they were all. Ringo was the most famous person in the USA, I think. They were all very, very famous in their own right in different areas, but I think Paul felt a bit belittled.
I mean, in the famous quote from John Lennon, where they asked him if Ringo Starr were the best drummer in the world.
This is not even the
This is not the best drummer in Beatles.
It's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, because Paul was a much better back drummer.
No.
Paul is is and was, without a shadow of a doubt, the best artist in regards to he could play anything.
I think John was a better songwriter and the better artist, but
that's on taste though.
But Paul was a better musician.
Oh, 100% better musician.
Paul could play anything and everything,
Yeah.
and I think there's a bit of rubbing of personalities in there. That John's getting all the plaudits and Paul isn't.
Yeah.
But so Paul's kind of, this is what I'm saying, ego, but kind of, oh, the world loves John, so I'm going to make myself out to be different. I'm going to make myself stand out in the album covers, in the films.
And I think you've just hit the nail on the head. Before we start debunking stuff, I think that's all it was. The reason why Paul is standing out to the difference to the rest of the band is, as you saw, he suited the rest of them. He went on his own solo career. He created his own new band, and he was the first one to start going out and do all these things. He was I suppose he felt like he was a bit of a maverick who was not really getting the attention that he deserved.
He's going to be one that's had a long-lasting career. Like, he's still recording and releasing songs today. I know John Lennon got assassinated,
but Ringo did as well. A couple of years ago, released his own book.
Yeah, but not to the level. Not to the level that Paul McCartney is.
It's not selling at stadiums like Paul is.
George hasn't really done anything.
Well, George is dead.
Well, yeah, he's dead now, yeah, but he didn't really do anything.
That really does help.
No, but he didn't do anything after the Beatles. So when the Beatles split, Paul was the only one that really had a career out of them.
Well, John had a good one until he was assassinated.
Yeah.
Because him and Yoko.
I mean, this is going to get so.
Anyway,
going to go into.
Let's go to the debunking section.
Right. So the Beatles have consistently denied any deliberate attempt to include secret message in any kind of or in their albums.
Bullshit. They've done it on purpose to fish us in, to hook us all in.
No, but officially they've gone. None of these. We haven't put anything out there.
Nah, of course you have.
I think after. I think that's late 68, 69. I think they've gone. This is fun. We're going to play with it. We're going to go with it.
Yeah, of course they have.
The fact that Paul's the only Beatle in published photos with a hand above his head is, I think that's an in-joke in the band. That's the band taking the piss out of the fans. So. Like, let's if we give them something to find, something so clearly obvious as a hand over his head. But then you're going to look for more than what they're in, and people are going to buy albums and look for recorded tracks. And that's
exactly the point. So we're talking about the 1960s, where the only way to get music is to go buy it. You can't, unless you go onto your friend's house and listen. The only way to get you don't have an internet, you don't have a Blockbuster, you don't have you don't have anywhere local to go pick it up. You've got to go buy it. Your radio might play it, but I don't know. Could you record from the radio? Was it readily available in the 60s? I don't really know, but
yeah, you've got a tape recorder and.
But I know in the 80s and 90s we were recording everything on tape and stopping.
The amount of DJs that fucking radio presenters that ruined my fucking tape.
Yeah, but but I don't know. I honestly don't know if that exists in the 60s. But I think for the vast majority is, if you wanted to listen to something, you had to go buy it. Very, very clever marketing.
Yeah. All the debunking notes. I'm just going through my debunking notes now, and we've already covered them. So the OPD patch, we covered.
OPP.
There's an embarrassment of evidence both on the album cover and in the TV movie proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that John Lennon played the walrus, not Paul.
Oh, absolutely. He even said it himself. Yeah. And Paul did too.
It's strange credibility to suggest that a hand could accidentally appear over Paul's head 7 times in barely a year and a half. It may simply be that somebody noticed a hand that ended up over Paul's head on Sergeant Pepper and thought it might be fun to turn the accident into a running gag.
It's a possibility. It's more plausible than the hand over Paul's head is a symbol of death.
The lyrics in Glass Onion, I told you about the walrus and me, man, you know where as close as can be, man. Well, there's another clue for you, the walrus was Paul. Lennon never offered a clear explanation for this oddity. When specifically asked about it in a Playboy interview conducted a few weeks before his death, he replied, well, that was a joke. The line was put in part because I was feeling guilty because I was leaving with Yoko and I was leaving Paul.
They explained it. There you go.
The Black Flower in the Masculine Literary Tour, Paul offered a curt explanation for this oddity in the Life magazine article. He told reporters I was wearing a black flower because they ran out of red ones. At the time of the scandal, the Mystery Tour film had been unavailable for nearly 2 years. It wasn't out on public release till 1974. If it had been accessible, clue hunters might have wondered why Paul believed they'd run out of red flowers when the movie clearly shows him being handed a substantial bouquet of red flowers and then dancing around the room with them during the same scene in which he stubbornly continues to wear a black one.
So he purposely wore a black one, but we don't know why.
The biggest word in there for me is stubbornly. Continues to that's him going, I'm not fucking wearing it, I'm different, I'm better than you all. Maybe not I'm better than you all, but I'm different, I want to stand out. People are noticing John when they should be noticing me.
Yeah, and I agree. I think for the vast majority it was a case of I am as good as John, I am different to John, and I'm going to stand out to him. And a lot of the album covers said that.
I mean, the last note I've got to debunking is, are we really supposed to believe that Paul McCartney, the director of the movie, could not have obtained a matching flower to wear in this scene if he really wanted to?
If he wanted to, of course he could.
I think it's a lot easier to get another red rose than it is to get a black rose, because there's no black rose anywhere else in that film.
He actually awarded it.
That says to me he got that black rose specifically for him to wear.
I think so.
He's going out of his way to get it.
Yeah.
Is that the band have ordered it to say Paul's dead and signify he's a corpse, or is it just Paul going, I'm sick and fucking tired of John getting all the credit for this? I'm the director of this movie. I'm the director of this. I'm going to stand out as different. Because there's a lot of infighting in the band.
Clearly, that's why they broke up so early. You know, but I mean, I think we've debunked things along the way. I've laughed a lot, and I'm still laughing on the inside.
It's been a fun one to do, so I'm going to come to my conclusion if you don't mind. Then.
Sure, you go for yours, and I'll conclude after.
I feel this is a more or less it's akin to an Arthurian tale.
Okay.
It's Arthur upon the sword from Camelot, and it's a modern day folk tale spread by gossip.
Yeah, gossip.
That's gossip has evolved into mythology. You know,
like Mary Magdalene.
Yeah, Mary Magdalene, Arthur pulling the sword from the stone. It's that gossip, word by mouth that's taken on. Chinese whispers, man.
Talked about the very beginning.
Yeah, it's taken on like a mythological status that there's too much here to be not to be something in it, and I think it plays into that not confirmation bias, but self validation. I think like if you don't get it, if you don't hear it, or you don't understand these clues, then that means I'm more intelligent than you.
I think the only other band this could have worked with at the time would have been the Rolling Stones. I don't think there was any band bigger. If this had been like a generic 60s band, this wouldn't have even been heard of. We wouldn't have even been talking about it.
No, I don't think because the Beatles were so big, and I think were they the first non-American band to top the US Billboard charts?
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly.
I mean,
there's a famous quote from the was it they appeared on the Ed Sullivan show, and the famous quote from Paul McCartney afterwards where they said, "Oh well, your haircut's not very American," And he went, well, that's good because we're British. I think they were the first non-American band to top the Billboard 100 charts. So, yeah, they were a cultural phenomenon. And we discussed earlier this was 69, 70. What, 50 years later? And we're still talking about bands that are influenced by them and bands that only exist because the Beatles did. Something of that magnitude, of that cultural importance, that cultural effect, is gonna have some crazy shit attached to it. He's gonna attack crazies.
I'm surprised there's not as many skeletons in the closet come out over that amount of time. So
I think, I think this is just a modern folktale that's spread by gossip. It's become a type of mythology, kind of. It's almost at the point where a couple more years it's become Arthurian, like Campbell legend and pulling the sword from the stone. And
apart from, luckily, we're living in an age now where we can go look at everything that's happening. This is bollocks. At the time it happened,
I think it's only going to get worse.
I don't think.
I think that we live in an age now where, back in 69, 70, I know we weren't around and were born, but we trusted the news. Like, even the early 90s, if Trevor McDonald went news at 10 and told me what was happening, I believed him. I think now we don't believe our news. We don't. I think we're filming this where we're 7 days after an American election and we still don't know who won it, and different places are saying who won it and who didn't, and
Joe Biden, you won.
We've got places that are saying Donald Trump won it, we've got places saying Biden won it, then we've got states that have been recalled, and this is so. We live in an age where we don't trust our media.
Have we? Give me a reason to trust them.
Yeah, we don't. So I think something like this is going to. There's that case. There's no evidence, but there's a lot of coincidence. So isn't there? There's a bit too coincidence. No smoke about fire.
I don't think so.
I think it's going to create that in a lot of mentalities.
There's not a lot of coincidence at all. If you take away a lot of the evidence that we've said, the only coincidences that I can find are a hand above the head. Happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Not a coincidence.
The black instrument, the black rose.
Well, no, but the black instrument you can explain away because there's so many.
No, but I'm saying consistent. It's consistent coincidences. So you got the hand above the head.
So the only two.
Paul representing black. Paul being barefoot.
Well, no. So Paul being barefoot is explainable to me. I think the only coincidences I can find personally is Paul always having a different picture, like. He's always looking away, or
that's the fourth one. Yeah,
that's consistent. The hand above his head is absolutely consistent.
Paul being always wearing something black, so a black instrument, a black rose,
or something different to the rest of them.
Yeah.
He's always got something different.
Paul being barefoot when the band are shoed is consistent.
I don't think that's coincidence. I just think that's preference.
No, I'm saying it's consistent.
It's consistently preference, but it's not a coincidence.
So I think I can see in an age where people don't believe media like they used in the 70s, I can see this conspiracy getting bigger and bigger as time goes on. Because we're more distrustful of media now, so we're looking at it through a 2020 lens.
I think that on the other side, I think that we've got enough, if people want to search for it, enough to debunk it, but I think in the same way that Flat Earth will continue, because you've got enough people going. The thing is though, for the conspiracy side of this, where 99% of us will go, the conspiracy doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
For the 1% who are passionate, they'll keep the story going, because they'll continue to keep creating media.
There's more evidence to prove this theory than there is to prove that 5G is harmful, or that the Queen's a lizard, or I think there's more. Not evidence, but coincidental consistencies that will keep this alive. There's a backbone to this. Like the fact I could put a definitive timeline of how it happened, and these the death clues and stuff. I think that this is a theory that
I agree to an extent.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy because it's from now on we're not getting any new Beatles stuff, so we've got the clues we've got. This is where the evidence stops, and whether we believe it or you don't.
Unless Paul creates a new album and creates something new.
Yeah. Right, but we're at that point where it was kind of Beatles mania took over the world. It exploded and went mental.
Correct.
Right, and then it was that fame or in your social. Because don't forget, this wasn't. You can find a clue in a Beatles song, listen to it backwards, find a clue, and then post it on Instagram or Facebook. You can only tell the 6 people in your friend circle, and they tell their 6. So this was spread by like 6 degrees of separation, essentially. Right? So people wanted to be knowledgeable. Like, I know more about Beatles are the best band in the world, but I know more about the Beatles than you do because I found this clue. It's like, oh, you're a Beatles fan, they're a worldwide phenomenon, everyone loves Beatles, but I'm more intelligent, I know more about them because I found this secret message that John was sending to me. You're not a proper Beatles fan.
So you personalised it.
Yeah. It put it out there only for the best of us to find, and I found it and you didn't. So it's like that ego boost, that confirmation bias. I think there's also that bit of it's really fucking fun to find. It's really fucking fun to find a clue. Like, look at Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code.
Dan Brown again.
Right?
That's your favourite.
I love this because it's such a cultural phenomenon where it's like, oh shit. You put all these stuff together and people are really going, fuck, yeah, this person at the end of the Last Supper is pointing like that. And the Mona Lisa is like this. And this all could be linked together. And it makes you feel not more intelligent than you are, but like you know a secret knowledge.
You're part of a club.
You're part of a club. It's inclusive. And I think it's part of that and part of the fun of finding a clue. So even if I think the guy who found the guitar in Hyacinths on the Sgt. Pepper's band didn't really give a fuck about the theory, just wanted to be part of it.
That's it, maybe, but I genuinely think you've got people out there who truly believe, obviously, that Paul's dead. There are some, and they'll look at any what they call evidence or happenstance or coincidence or anything that they want. They'll create the narrative that they're looking for, and they'll do absolutely anything to keep that narrative alive. And it doesn't matter how many times Paul or John, whether it's in the past, or Paul come forward or Ringo Starr will come forward. It doesn't matter how many times videos will come out and debunk. It doesn't matter.
Well, this is like, even if Ringo Starr came out now and said, "Oh, this is bollocks. We didn't know what we're doing. You made a story up and it doesn't matter. It's all wrong."
You won't believe it.
And they go, "He's saying that because he has to."
Of course. The only way this will ever close.
The more Ringo Starr comes out and debunks a theory, the more weight it gives to the theory. Like, he has to say that. He has to keep it covered up.
Well, that's because, I mean, there are many conspiracies we agree on that are genuine conspiracies that are going to be fucking meaty, and you'll look forward to those.
We started light, don't worry.
Oof, you will. We've had many pub talks, many debates, shouting matches.
A lot of shouting matches.
Over beers in the pub, which we can't do at this moment in time. But I think with this particular conspiracy, it's not the only conspiracy for me is keeping it alive. And the only way this conspiracy would ever close is if Paul and Ringo came out and went, "The conspiracy is true." That's the only way to close.
Yeah.
Them denying it continually.
If Paul McCartney came out and went, "Actually, I'm William Campbell,"
yeah,
that would stop the conspiracy theory.
because in conspiracy anymore, it's true.
Yeah. But if he went, "I'm not William Campbell, I'm Paul McCartney, please believe me," and then MI5 are telling him to say that,
exactly.
or he has to say that it's too far in now. He can't lie. I just think this is What I love about this one, the reason I chose it for us this week is because it's so well documented. Like we put out today, where we put out what the theory is, we put a timeline of how it exploded, then we've gone through the clues and all that lot. It's probably the most documented conspiracy theory I've ever come across.
No, can't be.
In terms of documenting, like when I said earlier, I can evidence a documented timeline. I had a timeline of evidence, and you went, no, actually, I had a timeline of evidence.
Then Roswell's got a better timeline, and
not documented. It's he said that, he said this, she said that. We've got this report, that report. This is documented like on air. But on air. It's always like paper witness steps of this was on air broadcasted. This was published in print at this point.
Okay.
So we have a documented trail of evidence, and I think it's just that I don't know if this is a conspiracy theory or a fairy tale. It's kind of in that
if it started
mythology rail.
It started once upon a time, I'd buy it.
You know what I mean? It's kind of taken on that form now where this can't be stopped.
It can.
I don't think we could take the wheels off it other than Paul coming out and going, "Match and name's William Campbell."
I think in 50 years' time, when Paul's dead, Ringo's dead, and probably we're dead. Not to not to bring that tone to the fucking.
No, but I fucking see how much beer I've drunk in this video. I'm not going to live another 20 years.
I think this will die too. I think it's only relevant when they're relevant.
I think, yeah. Actually, you made a good point there. I think this will be... The Beatles are going further and further into obscurity. In terms of the... we know the Beatles are because our parents grew up with them and they influenced our music. But our kids aren't going to know the Beatles are.
My kids do because I'm a Beatles fan.
Yeah.
Their kids unlikely.
Yeah, my son doesn't know the Beatles are because I've never played them, never listened to them around him. And grandkids definitely won't know the Beatles are.
Yeah.
So that's probably where the conspiracy theory dies, because they're no longer relevant.
It won't need to be continued after that. It was popular at the time. It's actually the longevity is quite miraculous. Actually, some people today sat on YouTube trying to convince me that Paul McCartney is not Paul McCartney, and it doesn't matter how many pictures you show me of green circles around his eyelids or all that other nonsense.
And this is a guy who supposedly died 44 years ago.
54 years.
54 years ago. Sorry, yeah.
So, because I look at some of those videos and go, I can take a picture of me, face on now, and face on from 5 years ago. I look different.
Yeah.
And you could pick me apart too.
I think it's to me it's the incredulousness that this theory continues.
Would you say incredulousness? I mean, I don't know if that's a strong enough term.
It speaks to those fans that are fucking crazy, doesn't it? You know those kind of people where like someone's a massive Taylor Swift fan. I think I read somewhere like someone's a massive Swift, and then he thought he was in a relationship with Taylor Swift for a year, even though he's never met her. It's those kind of crazies that this theory speaks to.
It sounds like a woman I've recently read about who married to a ghost, who he cheated on her and so she got divorced.
Yeah. It's those kind of crazy I think it speaks to. And the fact that it's been going on this long is mental.
Probably credit to Paul McCartney for being able to have his career so for such a long time. But
do you think Paul McCartney feeds this?
No, not anymore.
Do you think he did?
I think he joked about
I think a lot of the death clues from 68 onwards were the band just taking the piss. Just a lot of in-jokes. And
I think that's the crux of this conspiracy. Let's be honest. I think knowing them guys, all of it airy-lairy, like trying for a few drinks and a few drugs, know that they're trying to take this new turn in their career. We just thought, well, let's just go all in. They're definitely on purpose, led with, here's a fishing expedition.
It does have an air of YouTube shitload about it, doesn't it?
I mean, it's way before the time, but I think they've definitely gone. Like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, right? You look at the front cover of that, and you go, if it was the first, imagine being in the '60s and looking at that for the first time, and being like, what the fuck
is this? Yeah.
No one's ever done this before. This just looks psychedelic, crazy shit. I am not surprised that played with people's minds. And like all the people that were on there, the celebrities, the crazy people, you gone from.
Well, like I said earlier, you could probably pick through a 2020 lens. You could probably pick out fucking 50 races from the 100 people that were on there.
You could do all. There's so many icons on there as well, and 20th century icons that we're looking at now, 21st century icons that we're looking at.
But we've just cut there because we lost our entire train of thought. We had to go for a piss, and we lost the entire train of thought. We're trying to find it back, so we're going to go back to. We thought this was an entire fishing expedition by the band.
I did, yeah.
This is a kind of. This theory blew up, kind of got its own legs, and just went off. Whether it was a PR stunt by the record label to sell back catalogues, like we mentioned at the beginning of the show, or whether it's just something that's organically grown and the band have gone, do you know, it'd be funny to put a couple of in jokes in.
Well, I definitely think that Paul McCartney, specifically, and John Lennon, I don't really know how much George and Ringo had any input of, they were definitely thinking, let's go fishing, let's see if we can reel, let's see what we can put out there and people can make of this, just get people talking, get people buying records, and get people just to get people interested in the Beatles. I think, you know, they've been together for, actually the Beatles weren't together that very long, but they're producing album after album for fucking pissing them out.
I think this kind of went too far. I think so, you know, having Paul as the only Beatle with a hand above his head 7 times in a year and a half was an in-joke. Someone holding a mirror horizontally on the drum of Sgt. Pepper's album was
Lonely Man.
I think at that point John and Paul are going, well, what the fuck? Like
I didn't even see that. That's just
shit. We can't. We were having a joke and having a laugh, and now we can't stop this. Like the wheels will come off the wagon, and we can't stop it anymore. I think it's grown into something more than what it was. I think this rumour went around London, then 2 years later went around America. The band become aware of it and starting to laugh with it.
I think you're right there.
And then it's just blown up and they've gone, shit, we were just having a joke, we can't control this anymore. Fuck.
But isn't part of the fun not having any control? I think if you allow a rumour that sells, as we said before earlier in the day, sex and death sells, if you allow that rumour just to grow its own arms and legs, and you don't really need any particular control, as long as it's not personal or litigious or anything like that, and there's no litigation required, let it go. As long as it's getting people talking about you as a band, and getting people to buy your records.
What about the 27 Club?
It's
so
coincidence that lots of people are dying at that age.
Yeah, but going back to the Volkswagen license plate on the Abbey Road cover.
If you get to 28.
If you get to 28, so Paul had been 27 when he died in that car crash.
Yeah.
That puts him in the...
No, he wouldn't be. He wouldn't be. He'd be 28 on Abbey
If
Road.
he survived. Yeah, so he'd be 27 when he died.
No, because that wasn't... Didn't he die in... supposedly 66,
yeah.
So it would have been 23.
So he wouldn't be part of the 27. I'm just thinking, like, there's this thing in music of the 27 Club where you've got Kurt Cobain, Mama Cass...
Jimi Hendrix,
Amy Winehouse. Yeah. We'd be like, oh, we're one of the cool kids because one of ours died at 27, but we covered it up to carry. You know, is it that?
I thought we already discussed 28 if it's 28 1F.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, like, does it tie into that 27 Club that you seem to get in music?
Well, he would have been one of the first members outside of the.
I think Mama Cass was before him. And
was
Jimi Hendrix before him or after him?
After
After him, yeah.
Well, it would have been.
Yeah.
was it Big Bopper and
No, but you see the point where it's like you could take this 27 Club, the 27 Club wasn't a thing then actually, so yeah, it's only modern day that we look back at 27 Club. So yeah, I think we're rambling here now. I think we need to finish up.
I'll give my conclusion.
So,
I do want to give yours.
Does that believe?
That does not believe. I didn't believe for 1 second before, and all the investigations I've done so far will say to me, this is possibly a manufactured conspiracy, purposefully manufactured, on the back of a rumour. So I think a rumour started. I don't know why the Beatles. I still go back to the beginning. I don't know why the Beatles magazine published it to start with.
Mm-hmm.
You gave this narrative, but who else knew about it apart from the fucking people talking about it in the little nightclubs? It wasn't popular.
The Beatles magazine only popularised the theory, and then 2 years later, Life magazine did exactly the same thing.
But I think the Beatles Life magazine popularising a theory which not many people were talking about, firstly seems like a plant.
Yeah.
Personally. Secondly, the radio station from an anonymous caller going, look at Revolution 9 backwards, seemed like a plan to me. So for me, personally, I see credence in the conspiracy that Capitol Records had a hand in it. But how diluted that seems. If there's a conspiracy there, that seems to be a plan to sell records, is the biggest it goes.
I don't think the record label came up with this conspiracy theory and implemented it. I think, personally, I believe this was a fan-made theory. There's a rumour going around. I don't know where the rumour came from. No one knows where the rumour came from. This rumour going around, and then fans started looking for bits and clues to prove, like the Black Rose or Paul being facing backwards and all this shit. And we're going for the death clues. We've gone through them in quite a lot of extent, but I think it was a case of the record label went, we've denied 3 times that Paul's dead and no one believes us. Let's sell the fucking back catalogue then.
Or alternatively, let's propel clearly people are buying it. Let's make more money.
I don't think the record label started it.
There's definitely.
But I think they perpetrated it and they kept it going.
Yeah, 100%. So, I guess the conspiracy was started is Paul dead? And I would say not yet.
No, not yet. Definitely not yet. I've nothing to show that he is dead. There's nothing that's convinced me he's dead. But then again, MI5 are good at what they do, so how would I know?
That's why you exist. You know? You guys are clever. You guys are very clever.
But
you persuaded me, a Yorkshireman who's drinking beer, to believe that Paul McCartney's still alive. You've done a really good job. I think it's because I can still see him on the tally box.
I mean, I did believe in this theory beforehand. I'll be honest, researching into it this last week made me question a couple of times, because it was like, while I don't believe the narrative, there's a lot of coincidence there.
But coincidence is allowed though, right?
But then, as soon as I lined all the coincidences up in my notes, just kind of went, this is an in-joke from the band, innit?
It feels that way.
The band know about this, so the band are having fucking fun with it.
I mean, why wouldn't you? Have some fun with it, sell some records, keep people talking about you.
The record label jumped on it to get the fucking back collection out and the back catalogue out.
It's why I asked you earlier in the day, what was your position? Because you openly said to me pretty much your position was you probably favour on the side of, this might be true.
No, I didn't. I basically came up with this for this episode just because it pissed you off as a Beatles fan. That was my entire intention behind this subject.
There was a couple of subjects you could have picked.
I thought it was bollocks. I thought it was stupid and it's a ridiculous conspiracy theory, but I knew it'd piss you off as a Beatles fan to have to research this, and I was interested to see what your research would bring up.
Well, If he wanted to piss me off, he could have just done Christopher Columbus.
We're going to get to that. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm going to get to that one. That's in the back pocket for later. Don't worry.
I'm a big fan.
But this was just a case of I didn't believe this theory to start with. I was surprised how during researching I started to believe in it.
Really?
There's a lot of coincidences, a lot of stuff go, actually, maybe. And then once you line it all up and look at the cold on latter day, you go, this is just a band taking the piss, isn't it?
That's what a good conspiracy theory is. So a good liar is someone who can line up 80% truth, 20% bullshit. But because you know for a fact the 80% truth is true, you think, well, potentially the 20% bullshit might be true as well. So a good lie is always a good blend.
You need a kernel of truth.
Yeah.
And a good lie. Yeah.
This conspiracy has got that really good blend, and that's the issue. There's a good blend of, well, the Beatles definitely said this, they definitely went there, they definitely did this, so therefore, this could be true.
You can't disprove this.
But you can't prove it either.
We can't prove it's real, but we can't prove that it's not either.
I can't, well, okay, let's put it very, very basically. Is Paul McCartney dead? No, because I can see him.
No, you see William Campbell.
Until you can produce an MI5 body. I'm going to go back to say
Yeah, we're going to go in a second. Should we just call it here? So neither one of us believe this theory.
I 100% believe it. I think Paul McCartney's dead. MI5 has killed him. Stick him in the trunk of the car, drove him off to the mountains. All of it's true. The Beatles have been desperate to tell us all the truth the whole time. No, it's bollocks. It's an absolute load of fucking bollocks. There's a greater chance of the Easter Bunny dropping me Easter eggs than there is of Paul McCartney being dead.
It is. I does not believe. Like, does that believe, lad? No.
That
no,
does
I don't.
not.
No,
That
I don't
does
believe. But
and that's pissed a few people off.
it's probably one of the.
It's good.
I need to put the caveat on there that it's probably one of the most well-crafted conspiracy theories in modern time.
I think it's accidental rather than crafted. It's just fan fiction taking its legs in the old way and someone going,
That's a great point. It's fanfic. That's what I was trying to fucking get at. Yeah, it's fanfic, innit? It's fanfiction.
and people going, and Beatles going, what? Right?
Yeah, we'll carry on.
I'll ride this wave and see where it goes. That's all it was, in my opinion. Just fan fiction.
So, we both, we've laid out the theory, we've laid out the documentation, we've laid out the clues, and we've pretty much
lost.
debunked all of it. We got lost in there somewhere, but we've debunked all of it. What do you think? Are we right? Are we wrong? Do you think Paul McCartney's dead? If you do, tell us why. Tell us why you think he's. Give us any evidence we've not covered today. Any evidence we've not covered in this episode.
And also, not just that though, some feedback on the episode itself. So not just the content, but remember, guys, this is our first live video. This is the first live content we're going to put out there. I'm expecting it to be quite long, relatively detailed. Me and Badger,
waffle a little bit.
Yeah. So give us some feedback on the video itself. Not just the content, but was it too long? What do you want to see in this type of video? Would you like us to present in a different way?
Comments like Craig's pretty hot and Badger's a cunt are not offensive. We know this already, so you don't need to type them. It's fine.
The hot part. I mean, I'm about to say the bunker off, but
the cunt part's true as well. I wasn't lying.
To be fair, I've had people in this room, this very, very room, of friends and extended family of yours, calling me that very same name. So I'm a cunt too.
It's a term of endearment. It's fine.
No, I don't know who's going to read this video, but read this video. Watch this
read
video.
this video. Yeah.
It's for the blind as well.
But yeah, let us know your thoughts below. If you like what we're doing, if you want to see more, if you've got suggestions for future conspiracy theories, let us know. Let's see. You want to see what we're covering, the way we cover it. You don't like the way we cover it, tell us what's wrong. But yeah, we'd love to know more. But until next time, from Craig and from me, Paul McCartney is very much fucking alive. Take care.
Cheers, Paul.